alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game. Groovy.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef,
And I'm Kyle.
and nothing brings horny emo kids together quite like nightmare fuel.
Isn't that the truth?
Oh yeah, absolutely the truth. So, after a long time, we are back.
Very long time.
We were pretty busy. We had to return some videotapes.
Yeah, I mean, literally, that was our last one. That was a great. I love that.
Literally, our last episode was American Psycho. We had to go return some
Yeah.
videotapes for like 5-6 months, I think, and then we came
Yeah.
back.
I mean, to be fair, not a lot of places return videotapes. We had to
Yeah,
go find the one
We had
place
to
I think,
find the last remaining Blockbuster and return
in
the videotapes
Oregon.
there.
Yeah.
But no, we're back, and V isn't with us on this one today. She had a previous engagement, so it's just going to be me and Kyle today, but she will be back very, very soon on our next episode. But today, we officially are done with HHN season for this year, so we're doing our review, and we're talking about scare zones, houses, shows, maybe a little bit of the food. I didn't get to try a whole lot of the food this year, just like bits and
Yeah.
pieces. But we'll pretty much talk about as much as we can with it. Because this year was interesting. It was a lot of fun to be had this year.
It was. It was definitely a lot of fun. I did most of September, and I did quite a few nights in October as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I did pretty much most of September as well. And I
Yeah.
also did like a 1 day in October because I had a friend coming over from Puerto Rico for his first ever HHN, and I'm like, I gotta be there for that.
Nice.
This is a momentous occasion, and I have to be there for this.
Yeah, spent the first my first Halloween at HHN for the first time.
Very
So
cool, very cool.
it was pretty it was pretty cool too. Way less busy than I thought it would be.
That's surprising for Halloween.
Yep.
Yeah, I heard like a lot of crazy stuff from like the last weekend of November where there was like just nobody. It was completely dead.
Yep. I also popped in on the very last night and did Stranger Things and then went home.
What a way
I
to
got
end the night.
I got off work at 11. I had to be back at work at 7 a.m. So
Oh
I
my
was
God.
like, I did Stranger Things as my first house. I need to do it one last time.
Yeah, you know what? I respect it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I think it was when I went that last time in October. We did the same screen. We were I pretty much had like the game plan nailed down at that point, and we managed to do all 10 houses and Nightmare Fuel by midnight, I think.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm like,
Because
that's a new record for a
we
Saturday. That's a new record for me.
yeah. Because even if you do express, that's fine. But we have, and along with our friend Johnny, have proven you can do everything at HHN without express.
Oh yeah, it's just in terms of like mentally and physically preparing yourself to marathon pretty much the whole night.
Yeah, basically.
And just taking like 1 or 2 breaks for a quick bit of food and a drink.
Yep.
But it's definitely doable.
We've done every house, every scare zone, every show in one night.
Absolutely.
No express.
But so yeah, a little bit of background on this year. It was HHN 32, and it bothers me that it is on 2023, not 2022, because COVID.
Yep.
Damn COVID. But yeah, it was a fun year. We got brand new icon that is not new to the lore, but new to actually being like the main icon, and that would be Dr. Oddfellow. Honestly, tied with director for my favorite icon now.
Yeah, same.
It was incredible. Like I loved how they built the lore around it. I loved the interactions that I got with the Oddfellow scare actor.
Yep. I finally got a picture Me and Angela got a picture with him finally on our on Halloween night.
Very cool. Yeah, the my picture with him was the last day of my Rush of Fear, and it's that picture of me shaking hands with him and then locking down a brand deal for Blinky Cups.
Nice. I also got to experience getting my horoscope read by him, which was
Oh,
great.
nice. I didn't get a chance to do that, but
I,
it
I feel
was
like
a lot of
I
fun.
feel like there was a bingo card for HHN this year, and it's like, horoscope by Oddfellow, a picture of Oddfellow. Uh, One of the rare ones that I actually, me and Angela finally got was to get a picture to see and get a picture with the Megan horde,
That's
and
it's so funny because
we
that
finally did.
was something that happened. I think I got to see like the back of the Megan Horde on our first night, like the
Yeah.
night that oh god, the infamous first night.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that.
So, for those of you that don't know, opening night is, and this is not just for us, this is just in general. There's always the opening night curse, where something happens that just like completely sets the tone for the rest of the day. And for this year, in our case, was doing Stay and Scream, and the first thing we were gonna do was Stranger Things, and just getting caught in a torrential downpour that was like, in my opinion, hurricane levels of rain.
Oh, it definitely was. It was to a point, and the sad thing was that I had a poncho in my bag, but it rained so hard and so quick that
By the time you would have
within
gotten the poncho out, it wouldn't
by
even
the
matter.
yeah, I was already drenched within minutes, and I just accepted my fate basically.
I like the moment I like it started raining, I didn't even have anything to cover myself with, so I'm like, well, this is my life now. And it was so funny because it was you, me, Jude, and Udani from Voices from Beyond,
Yep,
and it
Johnny, I think.
no,
No,
it was
Johnny
just
was
us four, yeah, before
yeah,
and I think Angela joined us later on.
yeah,
But it got to the point where we all got under one flannel shirt and just started playing an impromptu rock paper scissors game of Dungeons and Dragons.
yep,
That I will give major props to you, Donnie, for coming up with that on the spot.
yeah.
That was one
While
of
we
the
were
coolest things.
literally our first line, stay and stream line of opening night, we were waiting to get into Stranger Things.
Yeah, it was wild. And then the rest of the night was essentially me crap walking like I was in
Yep,
Attack
basically,
Attack.
basically.
But overall, it was a great fun. It was a great first night. We got to do quite a bit of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we did almost everything. There's a couple things we had to skip, but yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But no, it was a great night. Got to see I got to see my first ever Nightmare Fuel because I had never seen Nightmare Fuel before. That was a great experience. But
Yep.
we're gonna talk about a little bit more about Nightmare Fuel in a little bit. But yeah, it's all I'm gonna say right now is that it was an experience. But so what we're essentially gonna do, because we don't really do a whole ranking, just because like I feel like it's weird to do a ranking because it's, especially when you're like getting into like quote unquote worst to best. I'm like, there's no house that I would say was even like that bad or anything like that. So usually
Yeah.
what we like to do is we'll talk a little bit about each house, give like our quick thoughts on it, and then just give it a score out of 10. So, and then the way we're gonna do that is also essentially make our way around the park. And what I want to try and do, so I'm not sure if we can do it this way, is kind of walk around the park and essentially simulate walking through the park during HHN. So like starting off with like the first scare zone, getting to the first house, getting to the next scare zone after that, essentially just like not just doing like here's the scare zones and here's the houses, but just like kind of doing it as if you were walking through the park.
Yep.
So we're gonna start off with getting your ticket scanned in. Let's say you didn't do Stay and Scream, and the first thing you see after you walk in is just the opening ceremonies with Dr. Oddfellow welcoming you into the park, which was great because I did get to see that at least once. And then right after that is when you got your big Halloween Horror Nights red neon sign. That's how you know it's about to go down.
Yep.
And what you decide to do now It's like, oh, I see little Oddfellow's little traveling caravan over there. I'm gonna go that way. And the first thing you experience there is that first scare zone, which is I lost it. I just had the document open and I lost it. Dr. Oddfellow's Collection of Horror. And gotta say, great intro to the event, because great way, because like the first thing you see is Dr. Oddfellow. And getting to some of the great interactions, you get to interact with him for a little bit. You get to see it's a little bit different from previous years, where usually like the opening scare zone was just like, here's a couple scare actors from some houses or some scare zones just to kind of set the mood. But this one was just like a little weird because it was a little isolated, where there are characters that didn't really have anything to do with any of the houses or scare zones.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I had ever seen anything like that. But and it threw me off a little bit. So that's like not something I was expecting. Of like, okay, what is this vampire doing here? Like I would understand if it was like a Vamp 69 vampire, but it was just like
A
goth
regular
goth
vampire.
vampire.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was really cool, like fabulous work, and like the actors that they had working that did such a great job. But yeah, that kind of threw me off because I was like, how are these connected to anything? Um, but I think like obviously like the biggest draw from that specific scare zone for me would just be Doctor Oddfellow himself in the caravan and like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So I will say, because of outside of Doctor Oddfellow himself, if it was just those actors, I would have been a little bit confused. Um, I mean, like I said, they were so cool, but they just felt a little bit out of place for me. But
Yeah. They had some. They looked neat, but yeah, they definitely like if you didn't understand what it was, you'd be kind of confused as to why there's like a random assortment of scare
people.
actors hit there.
Yeah, I was expecting at least like maybe like some of the creatures from like Jungle of Doom, like one of them had gotten out, or like one of the although now that I think about it, it
Yeah.
does make a little bit of sense, especially if you had been following the podcast lore that had been
Yeah.
dropping. That makes a little bit of sense because essentially every scare zone had something to do with the actual lore of Oddfellow, and each one was set in a different time period, and it was
Yeah.
essentially telling his story from
And
beginning to end.
there's a chronological order to do things as well
That is correct.
because
And
you see Oddfellow pop up at different scare zones, but if you follow the correct order, you'll see him slow his look slowly change.
exactly right. Yep, you essentially see his origin story all the way up to current time,
Yep.
which is a pretty cool idea. I did like that they do that. It was just a little bit weird though as to like how it was placed, because like you would get like one part of the story, and then you would like jump and get like another part of the story that was like set in a different time period, but like not in a chronological time period.
Yeah.
Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the next scare zone we're actually, let me finish up with Dr. Oculus Collection of Horror, because um, score wise, I'm gonna give that one an 8 out of 10. It's a little smaller, but the fact that you get Oddfellow and you get these great interactions with him really sells it.
Oh yeah, same. And like one of the things about that one was that it's always great just walking through there. Besides pictures of Oddfellows, he also just he stands on top of the stage on the stage by the caravan and reads people's horoscopes throughout, and it's really great because he had a lot to say about a bunch of ones. And it was really never really the same thing. It was always different. And props to the scare actors for that.
Absolutely, yeah, they were definitely one of the coolest things about this year's event. Just like how much freedom that they had to work with there. But moving on to our next scare zone, because we're gonna make our way over to Hollywood. So the scare zone that pretty much took over Hollywood was Dark Zodiac.
Oh yeah,
Dark Zodiac was
this one was great.
this was such a great scare zone. I still have some things I want to mention about it, but let me talk about positives first, because the actual theming was great. I love that they went for that theme of like, oh, your zodiac sign, especially since you kind of start off with Dr. Oddfellow reading your horoscope for you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that was such a great natural progression into that scare zone. Um, and the actual like set design was really cool with like seeing all the different incarnations of the zodiac signs, essentially like performing kills or like walking around the streets. So like you would always get some kind of a mixture. And something I will say I think I really enjoyed too was the fact that they essentially split the zodiac in half, and you had cast A was one part of the zodiac and cast B was the other part, so it wasn't overcrowded.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I mean,
Uh.
how many zodiac signs are there? What, 12? I think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I barely know my own zodiac sign, so whatever.
But
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it was also like it's really cool that with the zodiac thing. But like if you didn't know that they split the cast, it would kind of suck having to sit and wait for a cast change because like a lot of people say in that thing because like I said, like all the zodiacs are represented and they're each like got their own unique look, and so people would kind of look for their zodiac sign and try to get a picture with their
Mm-hmm.
zodiac act.
Yeah, exactly. And that for me is like honestly that was for me the funnest part of that zone is just
Yeah.
like walking through that scare zone, and it really makes you focus on like the creature design and the makeup design because you're actively looking for your sign
Yeah. But besides the zodiac creatures, you also have like just the random chainsaw gang
with the
with
coolest studs on their
the,
head.
the like studded black mask and stuff
She
and
looked
cloaks.
awesome.
It was cool as shit. But one of the things that was very odd about this year, that was a change from the last previous from all the other years. Well, at least the previous 2 years that I've been. This is my only my third HHN so far in a row, second since moving here. Was the fact that okay, well, two things. Usually, that area is what's great about always what I always liked, and I wanted to get a picture. Me and Angela wanted to get a picture, but we didn't. It was that was our plan the whole before HHN, and then it comes time for HHN, and then they change it. They didn't have the horror makeup show marquee sign on, so that whole area was completely dark,
That was a bit
and
weird.
that was very odd. I don't know why they did. It was kind of strange, but I guess they just wanted it to be more dark in that area. But also, one of the big changes of this year is Mel's was down for refurbishment, so Mel's was not open. They still had the sign on, but previous years, Mel's was the place to be.
Oh yeah,
It's like the place to go and get food and get all your pictures out in front of. But it was dark besides the Mel's die-in sign.
yeah. Which I think I feel like in terms of at least the food itself, they kind of made up for with that little food booth next to it, because then you
Yeah,
could at least get a normal cheeseburger. Because I know
exactly.
like there's usually the food selections for HHN are a little bit out there sometimes, or it can be a little bit wild, and not everybody
Yeah,
wants to eat all that. They're like sometimes I'm like I just want a cheeseburger, and at least they still had that option for people. So
exactly.
yeah,
But yeah,
um,
but like all the other times, it's like there was at least one time during HHN where you'll get your group together and you'll go and sit down at Mel's and have a nice dinner at Mel's.
yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely,
It's kind of tradition.
yeah.
It's same with pizza fries at Louis.
That's why it was kind of weird for me that they did it during HH, like right before HHN started. I was like, why not do it during Mardi Gras when you have Richter's and Louis
Yeah,
still open, and you also have all the Mardi Gras foods as well. So at least there's like
yeah.
plenty of options.
It's funny because like I found out like a few months beforehand about it, and I was like, I was telling y'all about it. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that was it's
Pretty
weird.
sure Mel's is not going to be open, which is going to be weird. And yeah, it was kind of odd.
And it was weird.
And but I
You
don't
could say it
understand. Like,
was Odd Fellow.
yeah.
We got so many
Oh,
jokes about that the other.
uh, yeah. So see, speaking of Oddfellow, we're going to talk about our inside jokes.
Oh my
You know,
lord, that's
Oddfellow,
so many, so many.
strange,
Odd
strange
Fellow,
bro,
strange,
w-
strange guy,
weird,
peculiar
weird,
man.
Yeah, peculiar guy. Yeah,
Unusual bro.
unusual pro.
We had way too many of those jokes at one point.
We did.
It's like one of us just starts pulling out a thesaurus. It's like, what's different words for strange or odd? And then after that, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we got that. What's other words that you can use for man or fellow?
But yeah, but but yeah, it was definitely like a big change with the whole how dark that area is.
Hmm.
But it wasn't a bad change, and just like previous years, Hollywood always has like a top notch scare zone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this year was one of my favorites for Hollywood.
Yep,
Like especially this and last year's with Nettlewood Cemetery. It was
yep,
top tier scare zones for me.
yep.
Yeah, I will say like my only now not necessarily negative, but just like thing I didn't enjoy as much. Some of the Zodiac creature designs were great, and some of them were not so great.
Yeah.
Like for example, you have for every Scorpio, you had an Aries,
Hmm.
and then of course our favorite Mr. Crab Rangoon himself.
Oh yeah. I had the little Aquarius wizard thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I will say, I really I think my favorite design outside of Scorpio and Cancer was probably Gemini with
Was that the one with the
with the
spinning
two
head?
heads.
That thing was so cool because
Yeah.
like the actor would the way the actor would move in that, it was like the head, one head was always looking at you.
Mm-hmm. Not only that too, like one of the heads reminded me of Malignant because it looked
Oh
like it was
yeah,
like kind of splitting open. I was like, that's really cool.
yep,
Yeah, so that one, outside of that little bit like bits and pieces with the creature design, it was a solid zone. Again, I because of that issue too that I had with the same thing that you said earlier with the Mel's being down and the horror makeup show sign being down for an odd reason. Um, but outside of that, it didn't really take out of my enjoyment. So I would give this one an 8 out of 10.
mm, yeah. I'd probably give it 8 out of 10. It was like it was my second favorite to go through at night.
Okay, so yeah, it's honestly yeah, it was still a fun zone. It was still a great one to walk through. Um, but moving on to our next zone, because I know we haven't gotten to a house yet, but you have to walk through a couple of zones to even get to the first house if we're going this way. But that's okay,
Yep,
because it's at least you get something to watch and something to do. But our next zone is Jungle of Doom Expedition Horror,
yep.
and oh my lord, did I love this house or this scare zone.
Zone, yeah.
Um,
It- it- this is the one where you can see Oddfellow at a very young
mhm.
part
This
or
is because this would
before he
technically be the first
uh,
part of the
the
story,
first
right?
one, yeah, because he doesn't have the scar either.
That's true.
Yeah,
And it's actually yeah, because so Jungle of Doom, I mean, as the name implies, it's set in a jungle, and this is where we see Doctor Oddfellow essentially pick up the green skull on top of his cane for the first time and unlock its
yeah,
power.
exactly.
But yeah, I was a huge fan of this zone. There was a lot of things in there that was so much fun. For example, the little mini show of him walking up to like the little pillar and activating the skull and everything like that was really cool.
Yeah,
Um, and then like after that, seeing him walking around with the glowing green skull on him and all that was really cool. Um, Set design was amazing as well with the crashed plane like right in the middle of the zone, and it gave me like Indiana Jones, Jungle Cruise, and like kind of like
yeah,
even like a little bit of Mummy vibes, like 1999 Mummy.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was great, and not to mention the actual creatures.
Yeah, the creatures were great.
Looking at you, Audrey 3,
One of my friends was in it, and it was fun, like just walking through and like
and just yelling his
looking
name.
like is that who it is? And then you're not sure, and then they come out at you, but you're still not sure. And then later on, you get a message on Messenger saying, "Hey,
That was
thanks for
me.
coming by." Yeah, that was me. was
It's
like,
funny.
oh yeah,
That's so funny. It's like that was like the first year that I got like plenty of those messages from people. So
yeah,
it was really funny. Um, but yeah, like creature design was great. Set design was
yeah.
great. The
But this
only
one's a
like tiny little thing I would have added, maybe a couple more props in terms of like dead bodies of like other explorers, maybe that had tried looking for the skull but had failed.
yeah for sure.
That I think would have made it perfect. But outside of that, I mean, this was an incredible zone.
Yeah, well, I mean, just this area in general is always a fun zone. Uh, I still like I love that they utilize the tree aspect above and everything.
Mm-hmm. With like the eyes staring at you in this year.
Yeah, and they had they had a bunch of bats as well. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
a sucker for bats, but yeah, yeah, it was a fun zone.
Oh yeah.
I didn't walk through it as much as I had hoped. I would. Uh, just because I took different routes. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I definitely like a lot of the creature designs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again too, that little mini show with Doctor Oddfellow was great, especially if for like the diehard fans that are fans of the lore and everything. It was cool to like see things like because you could tell that like this year was like kind of catered not just to like your regular HHN fan, but people that are fans of lore.
Yeah,
Because
for
yeah, there was
sure.
this was like a lore heavy year in terms of how much it gave us introducing this new icon, telling a story. There was a lot in this, and it was really fun
Oh
to
yeah,
be a part of, to like see that. But yeah, this great zone it gets us oh, I'm sorry, it gets a 9 out of 10 for me.
oh 9 out of 10. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, hmm. I'd probably go. I'd probably give this one also an 8.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. That's still a good score.
Yeah, but now as we go through here, we get through here, and now we come to two choices. Which way are we going?
So I
Oh,
would say let's go to the right because I want to go see the Universal Monsters Unmasked.
exactly. That's a good choice.
So
That's
yeah,
what we're doing.
that's the first thing we're doing because who doesn't love the good old Universal Monsters?
I mean, can there be a bad monsters house? I don't think so
As
at this
no,
point.
honestly, ever since what was it, 2018 or 2019, there has been no such thing as a bad Universal Monsters house.
Yeah, especially and I had high hopes for this one too because it was going to be hard to top Legends Collide, especially with that triple scare at the end.
Oh my God, yes, and
God, man,
yeah,
that house
great
fucked
house.
me up, and I loved it every time.
Yeah, a part of I think one of my favorite things about this house too is you're okay. You had your Legends Collide, which was your big three. You had your Mummy, your Wolfman, and your Dracula.
Yep,
This year, I like that they kind of focus a little bit more on some of the lesser known Universal monsters because you had Dr.
exactly.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the Invisible Man, and the Phantom of the Opera, which of course still very popular characters, but compared to something
Yeah,
like Dracula or the Mummy, they're definitely not as popular as those.
and I absolutely love this version of Phantom.
Yes, this Phantom did not mess around.
Yep.
So we definitely got to talk a bit about the actual house itself. I mean, the moment you walk in, that facade, incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, you walk through and your jaw is just dropped. You're just like, what?
Because the first thing you're like, wow, France, I'm spooky.
Yeah.
This is spooky. And then you got, of course, that one police officer that's like, hey, you
Yep.
two, you people, get out of here. This isn't
Get
safe.
out of here. Yep. And then if you're lucky, if depending on what moment you go through, you might get a little wet before you
Oh
go
yeah,
through.
yep. So especially after, and if you were in the heat after a little bit, getting into that house was a nice little breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course you cannot forget to mention one of the most important things about this house. Extra,
It's
extra. Read all about it.
Yep.
One
It's
of
funny
the
and
funniest things.
it was funny you mentioned that because the other day, the other day, Angela took me to Epcot. And it was my first time ever at Epcot,
Oh my god, you
and
saw the kid?
I rode
Spaceship Earth.
Spaceship Earth, and when I heard that kid go extra extra, all I could think of was monsters.
Yep, like that's what I did too. Like after that first weekend of HHN, and I posted like random pictures on Twitter that was like HHN spoilers without context. My picture was literally that, just like the kid from Spaceship Earth.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, if you're a real one, you know. But no, that was a great house. Like I said, yeah, great
Just
focus on the
yeah,
lesser known monsters. The only thing, I feel like it had way too much Phantom.
that's my one complaint I was gonna give is that
Way too much Phantom and not enough.
it felt too much like a Phantom solo house.
And at that point, I would have just been like, just at that point, just make it
Just
a
do
pure
a
Phantom
Phantom
house
solo house. Yeah, that'd been great because I love what they did with Phantom. They turned Phantom like
into a legit
legit
monster
fucking monster.
and insane
He
killer.
was like, yeah, he was like cutting people's faces off and had collections of
And
faces. It
like
was
having them like nailed
insane.
on a wall, which is great. I love
It
that was like one of
was
my
so
favorite
sick.
spots.
Yeah,
But yeah, that
but
a little bit too much Phantom for my taste, especially because I was like,
yeah,
because
I was
I was like, I
hoping.
really wanted
Yeah,
to see more of Quasimodo and Dr. Jekyll and
yeah.
Mr. Hyde, and like I really wanted to see more of those, and I didn't get I feel like I didn't get
Oh
as
yeah.
much as I wanted. Um, but
But
I do want to
this
mention,
house also has like one of the best parts ever. The uh uh, uh the bungee scare.
yes, the Quasimodo bungee scare is one of the best things. That
Yep,
and his like mini stinger scare where he comes out, I think right after you walk into the church, and he pops up, but he doesn't have a trigger. He
exactly.
just pops out, which is great. Because
Yeah,
that got me a few times. Um, and we still,
it
of
was,
course, have to
it
talk
was good.
about the biggest asshole out of all the Universal monsters, the Invisible Man.
Oh yeah.
The man who will scare you and then laugh at you and mock you for getting scared.
Yep.
That room was one of the best scenes, honestly, especially that little scare at the end where his hand pops up from the ceiling.
Yeah.
That got me almost every single time I walk through there. And I'm
Uh
like, I know it's there, but it still gets me.
yeah, that part was so that house was great. Like I said, my only complaint is that it's too much Phantom, but also I was hoping it would be more like Legends Collide, where like every time you go through, you get it someone different at the end. So I was a
Hmm.
little disappointed, but it still wasn't. It was still great.
Oh yeah,
It's still a top five for me for this year.
absolutely.
I'd say probably about a 9 out of 10 for me.
God, nice. That's a good score. For me, it was just like the lack of the other characters brought it down a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Um, but outside, yeah, I mean, outside of that, it was great. This one I would give an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're
Fair.
pretty close with those rankings. We're not
Fair.
like it's not like
The
completely
only
different. Where I'm like I give it a 4.
the only bad thing about this house is the bad thing about this location, that fucking queue and
For me,
but
it's the walk back.
yeah, the queue, the walk back queue. That's what I mean.
Yeah, the walk
Yeah,
back queue
the
is
walk
that
back is like a mile and a half. It's
it's a
insane.
lot, especially for the next house that
I
we're going
don't.
to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the walk back from the through ET houses that are always so bad.
Yeah, I think it also hurts too. It's because of the whole what do you like the Woodpecker's Kid Zone thing being out.
Yeah. Oh
Because
yeah,
I feel
that's
like
true.
that could have been a bigger relief space as well, but because that whole thing is under construction, that they kind of had to improvise it a little bit, and that's probably what
Yeah.
happened.
We had to deal with it last year with Legends, and now this
Yeah.
year.
So hopefully, when the construction of that is done, they're able to kind of alleviate that a little bit. But moving on to our next house here, we're talking about our first IP houses here, and that is The Last of Us.
Ooh.
Oh, The
See,
Last of Us.
yeah. See,
Oh, The Last of Us.
so I'm not like so I'm not a big fan of The Last of Us. Like I don't really like the game. I do want to watch the TV show though
The TV show was
because
great.
it
I will say
oh
that much. It's great.
because it looks good. I was never really a fan of the game. Uh, so going through this house, I can't really. I don't think I can really give it a true like review because I don't really know this stuff.
Hmm.
But to me, it just I don't know. It felt like too much like someone's shooting at me here and there rather than
It
like
didn't feel
that.
as immersive.
I know what the clickers are, and I didn't feel there was enough of them. It was more of someone jumping out and taking a shot at you here and there.
Yeah,
Or
and I
like,
completely agree with you. Like I'm in the same boat. Like I've seen the show. I haven't really played the game a whole lot. My brother was like super into it. Like I've played like total of like maybe 2 3 hours of the game, and then after that I just like never really picked it back up. So I'm in the same
yeah,
boat as you, where I'm like I don't really know that whole lot about it. Like I know like basic stuff that happens based because of my brother, because like he would tell me stuff.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so that's why I'm gonna review this not as an adaptation, but as the house itself. And
yeah,
that for me is definitely where it falls flat. Like the triggers were there, but I feel like the actors, like based on the spacing, the actors couldn't get as intense as they wanted to, because you could tell that they were like kind of being held back.
yeah, for sure.
Because I feel like
I
if it was
only
possible, I feel like they could have gotten, like they would have definitely gotten closer.
yeah, I actually only did this house one time, and that was on 2 member preview.
Mm-hmm.
Because after that, I just didn't really care to go back through it. Which, and in the long run, it also obviously if you enjoy it, great. If you're like me, then you didn't have to deal with the 100 and 200
Mm-hmm.
minute waits
Yeah.
every night at HHN.
Yeah, I did it 3 times, I think, because I did it. I think I did it like the first Saturday because I did the Saints Cream just for that one since I hadn't seen it, and then I did it when Johnny came,
Yeah,
and then I did it when my friend from Puerto Rico came. But yeah, that was for me. The first half is the weakest. Second half, like once you get into the clicker tunnels, I feel like it gets a little bit better. I
yeah,
feel like the environment's opened up. You get a little bit more interaction. You get Ellie doing her thing, and then you get to the bloaters, the big boys, which those are like the best part of that house for me, more than the clickers
yeah,
or more than anything else. Especially because that's what I wanted. Those bloaters get in your face. Especially that last bloater, like where you see Joel on like the second story window shooting down at something. That bloater
yeah.
gets up close and personal, and he will, if depending on the walkthrough that you're having, he will basically chase you out of the house.
Okay,
Because
nice.
the bloaters themselves were really good, especially on my last run. They were in your face, like Yeti levels of intense, and I'm like, this is what they were missing the entire event though.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's probably like I said, it was my least favorite. Maybe if I enjoyed The Last of Us, it'd be better. But it was definitely
Maybe,
my least
yeah,
favorite.
yeah. The same for me. So this one, it's actually my lowest score. This one I gave a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably maybe yeah, I'll probably give it a 6 as well.
Yeah. Again, this is nothing on like the actual actors. All the actors did a great job. It's just the way that the spacing was set up, and like they couldn't get get as much intensity out of it as they wanted to.
Yeah, I even watched the Hollywood walkthrough video of this, and even I still was kind of like, man. Like I said,
Mm,
it's probably just because I'm just not really into The Last of Us.
I get you. Yeah, I didn't really see any of the stuff from Hollywood except for their version of Chucky, and I think didn't they also have Evil Dead Rise?
Oh yeah, they had Evil Dead Rise, but yeah, they kind of fucked that one up.
I heard that it was pretty bad.
Yeah, instead of practical makeup, they wore mask for
That is
the
so
mother,
weird. That is so
and
weird.
it's weird.
But um But yeah, that's like I said, not a terrible house, but there's a lot that it could have done better. But moving on to the complete opposite, one of the coolest houses that we've had in a while, the Darkest Deal.
Oh, one of the coolest. Uh, spoiler. This is. I'm pretty sure. Let me think about it for a minute. Yeah, yeah. This was my number one house of the year. I I
So
love this house
this was
so
my number
much.
two of the year. I think you already know what my
Yeah,
number one is, but this is like a solid
yeah,
it's very very close. It's like a
yeah.
close
This
if
was
a
like
certain house didn't exist, this would have been number one.
this was definitely like my favorite house of the year. I did this one as many times as I could, and I try to do it every night. It also helps that I'm a huge fan of not fan, but I'm not really big into the Robert Johnson uh, urban legend,
Hmm.
and like this is what this was based around, and so it
Exactly.
was
Yep.
so cool to see.
So I'm gonna be completely honest. First time I did Darkest Deal, I wasn't a fan.
Okay.
I thought it was okay at best, and I was like, I don't get the hype because I had seen all these things on like people posting on Twitter, being like, oh my god, Darkest Deal is the best house I've seen in a long time. This is incredible, and I walked through and I'm like, okay. Honestly, it's because I just had a bad run because I just didn't get
Okay.
as much of the scares. At the time too, I didn't know too much about the story because I hadn't heard the podcast yet,
Yeah.
and plenty of people told me, trust me, once you listen to the podcast and like listen to the story, the house gets a million times better, and they were 100% absolutely right with that.
Yeah.
My second, third, fourth, and fifth walkthroughs of that, because I actually did it a lot more, were all incredible, and I definitely got like this was in terms of story, this was probably the best house because you really like got the story as it was happening. You understood everything that was happening as it was happening. Um, and not to mention that too, the actual set design was great. The creature design was top tier. Um, and I am definitely talking about the fucking demons at the end.
Oh yeah.
Those things were terrifying, especially because they went for like full on um oh god, what was the name of it? Like not Beelzebub. What was the name of the other name?
uh, uh,
Oh my god, like the goat headed demon. I forgot its name.
oh, Baphomet.
Baphomet, yes, they went like full on Baphomet style with it, which was great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, they went like full like goats with like devil horn heads. I'm like, this is what I think of when I think of
I
the
love.
devil.
Yeah, I love walking through that one part where it's like, I guess it's like the hell part, and
Hmm.
you see like the parts of of the guy, like his face, like within the wall and
Like
stuff
kind of
like that.
melted into the wall. Yes, that was
Yeah,
amazing. That for me, it
but
was that yeah, that final scene with like when you're inside of hell itself and
yeah,
the graveyard scene
yeah,
were great. Especially that one actor that was like, I think he was a ghost,
yeah,
like covered in candle wax.
yeah.
That was amazing.
What my favorite thing about this entire house though is the one scene that always gets me is when you walk through that one part and he's playing on the stage, and then it's time for the collector to come collect his soul, and he takes his soul and you can see it happen, and he like
Yes.
you see the blue and his eyes turn blue. God, that scene is so good.
Yeah, that's something that was really that I don't think I've seen actually at all for HHN, which was the use of like
Yeah,
real time LED lighting on the costuming. Because we saw that
yeah,
here with Darkest Seal when Pine Straw Spruce's soul is being sucked out, but we also see
yep,
it in Dueling Dragons
yeah,
to represent Pyrock and Blizzrock, which was great. So yeah, I love that it added like they weren't like overusing it. They were like, this adds to what we're trying to do. This adds to the story that we're trying to tell, and it worked really well.
yeah. It was great. funny to like I remember what's funny is a couple is like well not really a couple weeks like a couple days before on Team Member Preview, we had what was supposed to be a big hurricane coming through Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and the joke is always every HHN,
Corn.
oh if corn's out we're gonna have a hurricane. Well, on Team Member Preview, I remember being like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to go through Dark Hills. I go in go Dark Hills. I walk through that one door. You see the cornfield. I'm like,
You're like,
oh,
God damn it.
this is the fucking house. Thanks a lot.
And then we, of course, still had that running joke of Jonathan Davis
Yep.
not being allowed to even enter the premises.
Yes, I know.
You were
Yes,
John. If you, it's like a giant picture of Jonathan Davis. If you see this man, kick him out of the park immediately.
yeah. We just want to make a funny video of Jonathan Davis of Corn trying to go to HHN but not being allowed to, or
Or he
just
gets in, but everybody's like really rude to him
constantly
for no
being
reason, and
hated.
like he
Yeah,
doesn't understand why.
he just doesn't understand.
It's like, why do people hate me? What did I do wrong?
It's so oh god. This is why we're not allowed to have like a budget and access to celebrities because we would make stupid
This
videos.
is why we don't work for Universal Creative.
Yeah. Oh god, but yeah, Dark is still definitely my favorite house. And it was one of those houses where like I went through. I'm like, oh man, I love that. But I definitely see it like as something I'm gonna love. I don't think anyone else is gonna understand it. And then I get on Twitter and everything, and then everybody's like, "Oh, Dark is still number one house." I'm like, "Oh, okay, everybody else understands. Wow, cool. It's not just me."
Yeah, it's really funny because it's one of those things where the hype for it was at least like for me personally, I
Yeah,
wasn't as hyped up for this house just because like when I read the story, I was like, okay, this is a Robert Johnson story. I don't feel like it's really going to translate that well to a house.
yeah.
Lo and behold, I was proven
I'm
completely wrong.
I'm so glad we got this and not the rumor of Devil Went Down to Georgia, like everybody thought we were gonna get. Because the whole time that rumor was going around, I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna use that as a house?
It's actually just based on Guitar Hero.
Yeah, it's just Guitar Hero.
Like the actual scares are just like people dressed up as like falling notes.
Spelling notes. You like walk through a room and you hear the crowd start booing, and you hear the man, 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 the
Yeah,
tennis
and
sound.
then like right
Oh
at the
god,
end is.
yeah. Oh god, we're gonna give a creative an idea for a Guitar Hero house.
That'd be hilarious.
But yeah, this one great,
Yeah, this one,
really
yeah,
great,
this one gets a 9 out of 10 for
and
me.
the facade is really awesome too.
That
It
facade is
looks so
great. Yeah,
sick.
yeah, I love the sound design in the facade area as well with like the echoey blues music.
Yeah.
It made it like really creepy and like eerie and everything.
Yep.
That was really good.
The deal is done.
Yeah, no, absolutely great house. Gets a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yep. Not see. You said 9 and 10. So this is going to be my one and only 10 out of 10.
All right, I'll give you that. No, I like I said, it's very very close and up there for me as like my favorite house.
Okay. I don't know if I know what your favorite house is.
Oh,
Huh.
I'm sure you will find out eventually.
I would hope so.
It's like
Yes.
it's like I just don't ever I
Yeah.
just like completely
You just
just
never reveal
stop
it.
and
Yeah.
I just like stop the podcast and it just ends
You
there.
just never feel. Yeah.
I just
My
never tell anyone.
what's interesting is that it's like I didn't start coming to HHN until 2021. Was it 2021? Yeah, 2021. And and then 2022 was my first year here uh,
It's a
as
Florida resident.
as a Floridian. Uh, but I was one of those people that like I didn't understand when people said, "Oh no, you're gonna love the originals over the IPs," and because I love IPs.
Hmm.
This was the first year where I was like, okay, I understand the hype behind originals because honestly, all the originals, I went in with the IPs being my most hyped and the ones I couldn't wait for, and then by the second or third night of HHN, I was like, well, I love the originals. I don't even really have to see the IPs anymore. I just want to do the originals all the time. Because from team member preview, I had a hype list. And then after I left, it sort of went around what I thought it was going to be. But then by about 3 or 4 nights of HHN, that completely changed. Then it just kind of stayed close to the same the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
But my list completely changed from team member preview to now.
Oh, same for me, honestly. Yeah, the hype list for me was like completely different from my end of the year thoughts on everything. But we must now move on. Darkest Steel has been completed. We had a blast. So now we're gonna walk past Men in Black and move on to our next location, which is Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origin.
Yep. Or longest queue line ever.
Q line. Q line, Q line, Q line. But yeah, it was wild. That was honestly the that's actually where I deduct my points on this house. The
Yeah,
queue line,
that queue
not
line.
the house
Yeah,
itself. The queue line to the house.
the queue line is so bad.
Yeah, it's
They got
it
to
was
figure
rough.
out something. I don't
Yeah, it
understand
was rough.
why.
Yeah, it's just like because they mix up some weird things
Because
because like
the
Oddfellows
it just,
and it honestly it's because of the Woody Woodpecker construction
I think so. Yeah, because
because you
this
used
was
to have
it was just
yeah
like this last year with bugs.
yeah like the Woody Woodpecker zone used to have two houses
Yeah,
and because that way you would go into one and that was the parade warehouse and then the other one was that other warehouse and
yeah,
then by Men in Black is where you had the other two because that's where your two tents were.
yeah.
But because of the
But then
whole Woody Woodpecker zone, they had to like completely change the queues, and
yeah,
that's
because
where things got messed up.
remember, because my first year we had that house that was we had scary, which you'd go through the Men in Black queue.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Now they're not even using that building anymore.
Yeah, which is strange.
Yeah. I think it has to do more with like what they were trying to do this year in spacing, because that is kind of
Yeah,
a smaller space. Like you're gonna do like kind of small scale houses there.
yeah. Now,
Scary itself was honestly a small scale house.
yeah. One of the bad things, the negative things about this year, uh, is just uh, logistics were really, really bad.
Especially that
Like there
first day
was
at Stay and Scream.
the very yeah,
Yeah.
but even just it's sort of got a little bit better, but I still saw it throughout most of the season where well we experienced this even on team member preview where if you had like a if you had a DAS pass and you were getting an escort, uh, they would take you down the same way of people coming back up. So it was just like a complete clusterfuck of not trying to run into people, hoping that they move off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and then a lot of the lines, like throughout most of HHN, had like where they merged together and stuff, and it was just it was a huge clusterfuck of logistics.
Yeah, and I completely agree. It was pretty messy this year with that kind of stuff.
Not to mention the big issue of we're pretty sure that they oversold the event
I would not be surprised.
because September was fucking awful, but October was. I'm glad I only went a couple nights.
Yeah, I heard October was a mess. At least like the first like I would say like the first 2 weeks of October I heard were kind of a mess.
Yep.
And then
But you
after
know
that it
what?
kind of died down.
The last week, which was the last couple of days of November, the first couple of days of November were pretty much dead.
They should have sold like a weekend pass. I'll be like
Yeah,
sign me up,
it
take my
was
money.
it was fucking awesome. It's like walking through a house, walking through there at like 10 o'clock or so, and then seeing that longest wait is like 30 minutes. It's like wow, okay, hell yeah.
Say less. Yeah. But
But yeah, but
moving on to
Oddfellow's
Dr.
house,
Oddfellows. So
his house really really fucking great. I love all the different. Well, this is another house where if you're depending on if you're in a certain area long enough, you might get a little wet.
So
Also,
I will
a
say
lot of jump
this
scares.
Dr. Oddfellows was #1 on my hype list for this year.
Oh, number one on your hype list.
Yes, it absolutely was.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Like because I'm a huge fan of that entry stuff about Jack's lore about like especially because you would see all these little Easter eggs about it
yeah,
about like it's like oh Dr. Oddfellow actually is the one who killed Jack and then Jack came back for revenge and stole his scepter and there's always
yeah,
this being these like all these little Easter eggs about Dr. Oddfellow all over the event and like for multiple years well like even when they did I think it was HHN Light the one room that was like set in the fall with like all the orange and yellow leaves and everything his caravan or his carriage was there that said Dr. Oddfellow's like Circle of Oddities and stuff like that.
yeah.
So like I was like, man, I wonder if anything's gonna happen, and we finally did get Dr. Oddfellow as an icon. But I did make that joke too, where according to the lore, Jack had killed Dr. Oddfellow and stolen his cane. And my whole joke was they never explained how Dr. Oddfellow came back, so I just posted like that gif of Oscar Isaac from Star Wars where he just says somehow Palpatine has returned.
Yeah.
So I'm like somehow Dr. Oddfellow has returned. But outside of that, the house itself is really good. It was a lot of fun. The facade
Especially
was incredibly
if you
beautiful.
like carnival and circus tents.
Yes, uh, that facade was great. I love that they're using that projection mapping technology on the tents themselves because it really did look really nice with like the red and yellow tents on the or stripes on the tent. It definitely gave
Yeah.
it like that huge circus vibe. But yeah, that part was a lot of fun. The actual like vibe of it was really cool. Um, the Easter eggs were probably my favorite part because you had like all these little tiny things pointing to Oddfellow and Jack's history, like the dressing room area that had Jack's original costume in it, and the little silhouette area where you see Jack and Oddfellow fighting each other,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I will say it. I think like my only drawback with this house was it was a little too overwhelming at times where I was like, what is happening? Because it was like a little bit too loud.
Oh yeah.
And like I sometimes I was like, okay, wait, where am I supposed to be looking? Where am I supposed to be going? Uh, Especially like once you get, I think it's once you get past like the dressing room scene, that's kind of where I would get over a little bit more like overwhelmed because it was like just like all these colors and things and lights and people, and I'm just like, ah, it's so much. Which I at the same time I'm like I wonder I'm pretty sure that's kind of what they were going for.
Yeah.
But at one point I was just like, this is a lot. My brain cannot handle this. Um, but favorite rooms by far I think it's gonna be for me. It's the dressing room scene with those inanimate clowns that would just turn their heads to look at you. Cause those were really freaking creepy.
Oh, that one was great.
And that one, I would say like the animal pen where like the lion comes out and attacks you, and then the bull-headed man also comes out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was great. Uh I love when uh that one thing gets his head like smashed in or cut off and then like
And then
you
he
get
moves towards you.
yeah, you get sprayed some if you're over
Yeah.
there close enough. But my favorite is the ending when you walk through and Oddfellow comes out and he's like destroy them, and then you get like a triple scare.
Yep. And then you
God,
get
it's
like that major. I love honestly every single time you would see Dr. Oddfellow, like the little area where he's like standing on the stage, like I would immediately
yeah,
clap for him and everything. So I was like, this is so cool. And then seeing him that second time when he's like on top of all these like almost like at a work desk and he's like just covered and like surrounded by all these like bottles and probably like souls that he's taken.
yeah.
And I thought that was like really cool, like design wise. But yeah, like outside of that anxiety inducing, overwhelming feeling I would get every once in a while with like too much stuff going on at once. This was a great house and a really solid entry. Um, yeah, I would give this one an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Uh, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10.
That's not bad. That's
It's
a
definitely
I
definitely
respect
a
that.
top 5 for me.
Yeah, it was definitely top five for me as well. So, moving on, we've left Doctor Oddfellow. You know what? We've done quite a bit already. We've done a couple scare zones. We've done four houses. We need a little break.
We have.
We need to sit
I
down
think
for a
it's time for
second.
a break. Yeah.
And you know what? You know
Let's
what I think it's time for? I
sit
think
down.
it's time for us to sit down at the Fear Factor stage and catch a little show.
Exactly. I agree.
And we're of course talking about Nightmare Fuel Revenge Dream.
Yep. Where they license all the Black Parade song.
And now it makes me regret previous years' decisions of not going to see Nightmare Fuel so
Well,
much.
so essentially, I mean, you can look it up on YouTube and
Oh yeah.
find it. It's essentially the same show. It's just this year was a little bit of a different storyline and done a whole lot better
Mm.
than previous years.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still want to watch them just for like because I know they changed like the aesthetic and everything on them.
Yeah, they also changed like the whole person and everything.
Yeah, but um, but yeah, no, this was an incredible show. It was a lot of fun to watch. Um, I remember when we went to watch it the first night, I was sitting next to Angela, and when the dude with the fire whip came out,
Yeah.
and he like swung the whip for the first time, I just went, "Oh." And Angela just goes, "Did you just discover something?" I was like, "No, I confirmed it." But no, that show was incredible.
Dude, what about that one time? When they're doing I don't know what it would be called, like when the Nightmare Queen's up in the air, and you have that like ultimate act of trust where she
Yo,
drops
and she
and the
just
person
drops.
and they catch her. Literally you have that moment where your jaw is just like drop. You're like,
Yeah,
oh my god.
because for a lot of people they were like, oh, it's just the horny dance show, but I'm like, there's so much more to that
There's so much more.
because you
Yeah,
have the whole storyline going on. You have like
you
straight up
fucking
magic tricks.
magic with this cool as shit. Like half the time I'm watching, I'm like, how the fuck did they
Yeah,
do that? Cause I'm looking under stuff.
because you got like that one scene when she like puts the sheet over her, but then she disappears.
Yeah.
You got where they legit decapitate a woman with a guillotine
Oh god, yeah.
when they set her on fire. Like they threw her inside of a ball and then just set the ball on fire, and then she's just like in a completely different direction. You're like, how? How did
Yep.
you people do this?
Not to mention it. It has some really awesome music, like not just like original music, but also like different covers from
Mm.
of other songs. Man, it's so good.
Oh yeah, like to the point where for a while on my Spotify I was rocking the playlist for Nightmare
Same
Fuel.
here.
It was
Same here.
such a good
I
playlist.
love the that version of the Billie Eilish song.
Yo, that was great.
Yeah, that one's good.
That and meanwhile we're over here like, all right, Orlando, Universal Orlando. Who is gonna make the first move? You or Chris Motionless?
I
Who are we gonna get to
know.
make? You know what
I
would be
know.
even cooler?
We need.
Not just having motionless music in it, but having him make original music for it. Like having the
Yeah,
band make original music for it.
yeah. We need Motionless to make a theme for that.
That'd be insanely fun. Um, but yeah, the whole show itself, because like I said, it's got the magic tricks, it's got like the dancing, it's got these insane pyrotechnics. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think one of my favorite things was because I went to see it when my friend came to visit from Puerto Rico, and I all I told him is, "You're not prepared." The entire time I would just like look at him to see your reactions when like something big happened was just like legit wild eyed, jaw on the floor wonder,
Yeah,
and it was the
it's
best thing in the world.
yeah, it's one of those things that like you have to do like multiple times, even though it's the same show. You still gotta appreciate it. I
Oh
think I
yeah,
did it probably about 5 times or so
no,
this
I
season.
think I saw it 3 times. Yeah, I think I saw
Yeah,
it like 3 times. No, 4 times I think. No, no, never mind. It was 3. But no, it was a great show. I'm so glad I finally made that decision and be like, yeah, you know what, I am gonna watch Nightmare Fuel because I feel
Yeah.
like I haven't been getting the 100%
I just
HHN
wonder.
experience if I'm not doing it.
I just wonder if they're going to continue it next year, or because like a lot of people have been complaining because it's been like the third year in a row now they've
Kind of the same
had
show.
Nightmare Fuel. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
wonder if we're going to get something different.
So from what I've heard, it probably is gonna come back.
Yeah.
Because somebody, I think, either one of the show directors or one of the dancers made um some kind of Instagram post of like something regarding
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
Like something like
You,
it wasn't like super
you
obvious.
know who they should like partner with. I mean the dance group is already a group like that
Mhm.
called Fuel Girls. That's who and it's called Fuel Girls, and something else is like who a lot of the people are. Like some people are part of Universal, but some of it is a third party company.
Mm.
Uh, but oh, remember our first Spokala?
Yeah.
Remember cherry bombs?
Yes, I do remember
That's what
cherry
it
bombs.
reminded me of. Yeah. So it's like that'd be cool if cherry bombs like got involved with it.
That'd be really cool actually, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Nightmare Fuel definitely that's a 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
Absolute 10 out of 10.
Yep.
But we sat down, we experienced Nightmare Fuel. We got feelings. Some things were unlocked or some things were confirmed. So thank you, Nightmare Fuel. But you know what? We took a nice little break. It's time for us to move on to our next house or our next scare zone actually. And that next scare zone is going to be Shipyard 32 Horrors Unhinged. And oh boy,
Yeah.
this was one of the zones of all time.
This one. So I don't know. So this one was uh it was it was I liked it, but I felt it was lacking a lot. But there was one thing in it that I absolutely loved, and was probably everybody's favorite thing ever too,
Patricia.
and that's Bat Trisha,
um
the greatest thing
so
ever.
so for me, and this is a constant issue every year, I hate scare zones in this location. Not necessarily
Yeah,
the scare zones, but the location itself is really small.
it's
It
yeah,
creates a lot of bottlenecking, and you can't really appreciate anything in the zone.
yeah, and that was a big issue this year too. Like at first it wasn't, it was fine, but later on in the season, I guess it got to such a point that they actually had ops in the scare zone motioning for people to keep walking and
Yeah,
wouldn't even let people like stop and
because it
take
was a
pictures.
lot.
You couldn't really appreciate it, so I was like, man, this damn it sucks because like there's a lot of cool stuff in there to really
Hmm.
like, and there's a lot of cool things to look at because it looks like I'm pretty sure that one that glowing green box is
It's
the
the skull.
Oddfellow thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. Um, so here's my other big issue with this scare zone as well. We've seen everything in there before. They're all
Yeah.
recycled monsters from previous years.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Like
But
on
remember,
one end, it does add to the lore of like maybe Doctor Odd. It is tying Doctor Oddfellow more into the fabric of the event of like, hey, maybe like all these creatures that we've been like scared by and like terrorized by, they're actually all his.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that is cool, but at the same time, like I remember this Nosferatu from like 2 years ago, or like I remember Patricia from 2017 because she's far back,
Yeah.
and even like one of the creatures, I was like, I think that was in Hellblock Horror last year, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that for me is like the like one of the things that like kind of drew me off and like didn't make me a
Yeah.
huge fan of that zone.
So like half the time I'm looking around at it, I'm like, where does Oddfellow play into this?
Yeah,
Because Oddfellow was supposed to be in every scare zone, but I don't remember which one Oddfellow was.
So I think he wasn't
Because
like specifically in this scare zone. I think it was just like the influence for it because he's not really in VAM 69
yeah,
either.
because uh one of the one of the characters in Shipyard, even though it's like an animal, it's like a monster character, has Oddfellows markings on them.
Yeah, I do
And the
remember that. Yeah, but
other
at the same
person,
time, it's just
yeah,
like, but then you move on to like other things like later on down the timeline, and then he's just normal.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a little hard to like figure out how it plays into the story. But yeah, that for me was the weakest zone this year. And honestly, anything in the San Francisco area usually is, and it's usually because of spacing.
yeah, yeah. The San Francisco scare zone is just not
Yeah,
good.
I wish they would do what they used to do in previous years. It's just like again, it could also be more of a spacing issue. But back in the day, where the meet and greet is now with like the characters from Minions and like the Minions exit building is, they used to
Yeah,
turn that into a scare zone.
yeah.
And I feel like that's a little bit more wide open because it would go from pretty much the beginning of that little like intersection all the way to where all the way to Mel's. So like
Oh yeah,
that whole road was a scare zone. And I'm like that I feel like that's like a little bit easier to handle than like that tiny little scrunched up area in San Francisco.
yeah,
But who knows? Maybe it's still another type of logistics thing because that's still kind of a cramped area. We'll see. I mean, there's still definitely a lot of room for improvement there. I'm sure they just like need to like actually like sit down and figure things out because like the previous year to that they did a really good job with it with the oh god what was it called? It was like the one with the witch.
yeah.
Yeah, like that was a lot more fun. Like I feel like that was actually
Yeah,
more of an open space.
yeah.
But yeah, that one unfortunately for me it does get a 6 out of 10.
Mm, yeah, I'd probably say about the
Yeah,
same.
because yeah, it's hard to
It
maneuver and walk
just
through,
yeah,
and then the creatures we've already seen before.
yeah. Now, are we going to continue on, or are we going to make a left turn and see a little favorite?
So I'm definitely in the camp of let's make a left turn for just a moment.
Let's. But we're gonna make a left turn, and it's HHN. You got to get some photo ops in, right? And we had two great photo ops in this area.
So we had the actual like HHN sign that was really nice for a little photo op with a couple friends. Then you
Oh,
had
if we're counting that one, I say three then, because I don't know if you got the other photo op. So like,
so I never
there's
got the
another.
chance to see the other photo op. I know who was there though.
Yeah,
It's a certain
y- y- y-
certain
y- me and
Halloween icon.
me and Angela got it. Got both actually. Uh, so besides before we talk about the Halloween icon, uh, the if you ever watched uh the the Purge, the third Purge movie,
Hmm.
I can't remember which one that one is.
I cannot
Uh,
either. I don't remember their names. I just
it's
remember I think
not
it's like the Purge Anarchy, was it?
no Anarchy's
Or is it
second
election year?
election year. Yeah, the Purge election year. If you remember, there was these girls that had this car that was all like covered in lights and was super bright. And there was this
Hmm.
one girl, she had looked like a Statue of Liberty mask and it said "Kiss Me" on it.
Yep.
Uh, so she was a photo op yeah, for this year for some reason. Don't know why, but she was there. It was
Yeah, I have
cool.
no clue.
Wasn't
You know what it
complaining.
is? It's because
Wasn't complaining.
it's because they're like we still have a bunch of props left over from like all the years that we did the purge. We got to do something with them.
Yeah, basically. You know what? It was cool. Wasn't complaining.
Oh yeah, no, it's
I
cool that
got
they
the
added it
photo.
on. Period.
It's nice. But the main thing that everybody was stoked for was
Our
we
good old
had
friend
the pumpkin icon himself, David S. Pumpkins.
David S. Pumpkins. The only reason he was there is because it was the Peacock Halloween bar, because he's a huge part of Saturday Night Live, which is owned by
Yeah,
NBC, which is is on Peacock.
Yeah,
So, but he is like kind of a fan favorite among like fans of SNL,
yeah.
and it's also
But
because of friggin' Tom
man,
Hanks just doing that to perfection.
the character. First of all, props to everybody. I don't know if it was just. I'm pretty sure it was multiple people playing him, but they were spot on, nailed it. Like
It's funny because like
has
every single time people took pictures of him, I would see the pictures. I was like, I feel like it's always the same guy.
I know, and he would if it was, you know what, he was great.
Oh,
He never broke character, just always stayed on top.
that's hilarious.
It was insane. It was too good. Like it, if you didn't do it, then you missed out on not getting a David S. Pumpkins photo, or even just talking to him, watching his interactions. It was so how to say it's and not in a bad way, but it was cringe in the best way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
There's always
yeah,
good cringe and there's bad cringe, and that is
but
definitely
he
good cringe.
was just spot on. Never broke character. It was great.
Yeah, no, I at first I was very confused. I was like, why do we have David as pumpkins? But at the same, but then after that I embraced it. I was like, hell yeah, David as pumpkins.
Honestly, I'm hoping moving forward that they'll do that. They'll just bring random characters to do photo ops
That'd be cool.
with.
Yeah, they should do that.
That'd
That's
be
because
cool.
I think they will because at least from like the online reaction on Twitter, it was very very popular.
Yeah, like that whole area was cool. Like it was cool. It felt like, in a weird way, it felt like we had our own version of like a red carpet event because you had like the big sign and the photo op and everything, and the little like drink area.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was really cool. It was a nice way to like remind yourself like this is a big like uh a big like Hollywood esque event.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, so now we
So we
we got our
met.
photo op.
We got our photo ops. We took our pictures. We met David as pumpkins.
We
It's a lot
unfortunately
of
had to
fun.
go right back through shipyard.
Yeah, but
And
that's
so
okay. We're like squeezing past everybody. We
losing past me, getting a quick pic with Patricia.
oh yeah, absolutely. Get a quick little photo session with Patricia, and then we have made it to Fast and Furious queue in a certain little house called Chucky Ultimate Kill Count.
Oh man,
Oh, oh man,
this one, I just
this was certainly something.
let's just say I didn't have the best of times
It was the
with
best of
this
time. It was the
house.
worst of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah,
Yeah, and honestly, I hate to say that because Chucky is one of my all-time favorite horror characters. This was actually my most hyped up IP house because
same.
I love Chucky. Um, and then this is what we
Especially
got.
after reading the synopsis of it, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great."
Yep.
But
And I was like, oh
they,
my god, are they doing like a whole like kind of making fun of the dead meat kill count thing?
yeah, but they just really did not nail this at all.
No,
I
it
don't.
was very very disappointing.
If you've never watched, I mean, luckily I saw the TV show and stuff, but like if you've never watched the TV show, there'd be parts of this house where you're like, "Huh, I don't really
What does
understand
this
what's
have to do
going
with
on
anything?
here.
Yeah.
What's
Um,
going on here? Very confused right now."
I will say, I feel like because parts of it showed promise. There were some fun parts. I'm not gonna lie. It was the
Yeah,
whole thing wasn't awful.
no,
I will say the first half is a slog and it's very disappointing. Second half
yeah,
for me gets better. Like after you get past like the first show building and you go into the second part of it, like
yeah.
that for me gets
But
better because the set pieces are a little bit cooler.
honestly, I wish they would stop doing these. I wish they would just stop the whole half and then walk through second half. I wish they'd make the whole thing one whole thing because we had the same thing last year with Black Phone and
And
Freaky.
Freaky, yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of very odd. I don't like going through a house,
Yeah,
walking through a
in
little
the
thing.
Chucky house, it was a little weird because it does kind of like break up the thing. I was okay with it last year for Blumhouse because it's two completely
It,
separate movies, so I'm
it,
like, okay,
it
it's good
made,
to have like a little breather.
with Chucky, it didn't make sense. You're just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, but I
Now
will
it's
say that second half is better because that's where you have that one section where it's like you're kind of in the good guys factory and you're just like surrounded by all the good guy boxes, and then you get the
yep,
Christmas scene from the show where like he's chainsawing a woman in half.
yep,
Like that, it definitely like the second part definitely got a lot better. The first part was, and even then the second part was still, it's a little less. But I will say that I do like the final room where you get like attacked by multiple Chuckies because it's all Chuckies from like the movies. Because you've
yeah,
got like Child's Play 3 face sliced off Chucky. You've got molten drenched in molten uh, plastic Chucky and like all that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, that was cool, but yeah, after that, yeah, this is it was very disappointing, honestly, and I hate to say that because I was really excited for it.
I was too. I was. This was like it had to be in my top 5 on my hype list.
Hmm.
And then I did team member preview, and I was like, wow,
That was a
yikes,
house.
that was a house. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it's because it's team member preview. Maybe that's what it is.
That's not what it was.
Went through it again on the first night with all of y'all.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Mm,
You want to know how
mm,
that like told the story for the rest of the night too when
yeah,
Donnie
you
fell
done. Yeah,
like
it was
right
like,
outside of
man,
it, and
yep,
they now
fell,
that they mess up their back too.
yep. And then you're just like, well, okay, well that was
Guess I'll
that.
die.
And then 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 you skipping out of it. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna. And then all of a sudden you're back at it, and you're like, you know what? We'll try it again. Maybe I just had a bad run because some people were saying it's really good. Nope,
No.
nope.
Unfortunately, like
Unfortunately, I mean,
even as a fan of
some
Chucky, I couldn't
some
forgive
people
some of the
enjoyed
stuff
it.
in there.
Some people enjoyed it, and like I've even heard the take that some people was like, "Oh, you have to be a really big fan to really enjoy it." I'm a huge fan of
And
Chucky,
we still didn't really
and
enjoy
I
it.
was both just kind of like, this ain't it." But I will say, if you can find it on YouTube, watch the Hollywood
Oh, the
walkthrough of
Hollywood
Chucky.
walkthrough. I'm like, why couldn't
Hollywood
we get
House,
that?
that was top notch.
Yeah, I will say the little opening is like nice. So, and like the first thing you see when you walk in is that little animatronic Chucky. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
Also, if you if you didn't get the pleasure of doing it, me and Angela on our anniversary for Halloween, we stayed at Cabana Bay.
oh yeah, that's
Cabana
right. You guys
Bay
did the Chucky photo op, right?
did a Chucky's Twisted Playground photo op room, and it was great. And honestly, I'd probably say the photo op was probably better than the house.
Eeh. But yeah,
That just was
this one
very
gets
very
a
disappointing.
6 out of 10
I've
for me.
never I've never been more disappointed in a house than I have going through that.
Mm. Yeah, this one
So
gets a 6 out of 10 for me.
cool. Yeah, yeah. I don't think I'm gonna go lower than a 6, so I definitely probably give it a 6.
Mm. But that's okay. We made it out of Chucky. We didn't slip and fall, thankfully.
We didn't. You know what? Just to make the night better, as soon as we walk out of Chucky, we got lucky, and Megan's were dancing, and we got to have a little photo op with them.
There we go. And those Megans were bringing it.
They were you uh, the the Megan horde was really cool, uh, and I loved and hated the mystery of it. They never posted their set times.
They really
You just
didn't.
had
You
to
just have to
you
get
had to
lucky.
get you just had to get fucking lucky. And as you get throughout the season, you kind of pick up on little cues here and there. Like when me and Angela finally got to see them and take a picture with them, we were like getting water at a freestyle machine out right outside of Jungle of Doom,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden you hear music start going, and we're like, "What's that?" And then she starts hitting me. She's like, She's like, "Oh fuck, it's the Megans," and so we just take off running over there, and because they're right outside Mel's, because
Yep.
they were always either right outside Mel's
Right outside Chucky.
or right outside of Chucky,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
like
they
you
were
had to get
great.
luck. It was cool having that little like moment of you never know if someone's gonna pop
Mhm.
up.
But at the same time, it's just like I missed them all the nights I was here.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the Megans themselves were really cool. Yeah, the actors did a really good job of like moving in a really like kind of creepy robotic way until they break into the dance, and you're like, oh my god, this is so cool.
it's funny because everybody was hoping we get a house or a scare zone, but we just get this random thing, which was cool. Like I said, like I want us to continue getting stuff like this
Oh
moving
yeah,
forward.
yeah, especially because like, it was weird because this year there wasn't any type of lagoon show, so at least there was
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
But yeah, it wasn't. It was a lot of fun. The Megans were really cool, especially when they would like stay over and just like keep moving, like doing those weird like doll movements. Like after they finished their dance was really cool. But yeah, we got out of Chucky. We got really lucky. We got to see the Megans. So now we're gonna make it through New York. We're gonna walk through one more scare zone before we get to the next set of houses that we want to do, and we're gonna get real groovy with this one.
oh yeah.
That's gonna be Vamp
This one,
69. Nice.
man, yeah. This one was just this one was such a vibe to just walk through, and
This was my fun zone.
so good. Easily my favorite. Well, I don't know. This between this and Dark Zodiac, probably my favorite. Was it was just so fun to just walk through and just walk and just enjoy the atmosphere.
Hmm.
Which I mean, honestly, every scare zone in New York is like this.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like kind of that and like Dark Zodiac or like that the Hollywood area. Usually like kind of like the chill zones of like enjoying the atmosphere of them.
Yeah.
But no, this is actually my favorite zone this year.
Oh yeah, same here. It was just so fun.
Yeah, like the
So
I
much.
love the whole like '60s vibe, the whole hippie vibe.
Yep.
I had nothing but amazing interactions with like a lot of the scare actors there.
Yeah. Same.
Especially like the one that was walking around with like a liquor bottle, and I had a drink in my hand, and they were like, "Cheers, here's to your death." So that was a lot of fun. Really funny thing, I actually had one of the scare actors there was somebody I went to high school with.
Oh
And
wow,
at one point, I was like walking through, and they were like, they walked past and like kind of jumped at me, and they were like, "We went to high school."
that's what they said.
Yeah, they're like, "We went to high school together," and then like did like a little loop, and then came back around,
Wow,
and then like the next day they messaged me, and they're like, "Hey, by the way, that was me." I was like, "Oh my god."
that's great.
Yeah, it was really funny. But no, I great interactions with honestly all of the scare actors there. They all did such a great job.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, the vibes were immaculate. The songs were great. The only thing I will say though, the song loop could have been a little bit longer.
yeah.
Because after a while, I'm like, okay, I've heard Crimson and
It's
Clover like 20
a lot
times
of the same.
today.
Oh, and not to mention
Oh God, no, I
not
almost
to
forgot
mention
about that.
the white people jam you know
Of all time.
of all time.
Oh
Sweet Caroline.
God. And that whole running joke that we had where it's just like
Yep,
inescapable.
yep,
It was
yeah.
honestly it was the most disturbing thing at Horror Nights this year. Seeing
Yeah, yeah.
all the random white people just start going, "Sweet
Yeah,
Caroline."
remember I
Ba
was like,
ba ba.
we was walking through there. I was like, it's okay, Yusuf. I'm not one of those kind of white people. I'm not gonna dance to it. So I'm saying, oh God,
It's happening.
Yusuf, help! I can't sweet.
Ba ba ba. Oh my lord, it was ridiculous. Like the amount of it was so weird. It
It
was
was
like a
so bad.
cult. It was like a
Yeah,
cult. Like the moment
it
that
literally
song started playing,
every
everybody
time.
would just start drop everything they were doing, and then just go
Oh,
ba ba ba.
I know. It's like Silver Shamrock song, but instead of Sweet
But for
Caroline.
white people,
Yeah.
that was wild. But outside of that, This was like my favorite vibe. This is my favorite zone to vibe in. This was my favorite
Yeah,
interactions with a lot of the scare actors. So yeah, this because of that little song loop and the Sweet Caroline thing, I give it a 9 out of 10.
yeah, I'd probably say 9 out of 10.
Yeah, but we have officially made it through all of the scare zones. We have survived all those horrors, especially Sweet Caroline. Barely, we barely made it to there alive. But you know what? It's time for us to hit another house. We already did the 60s. Let's bring it back even further. Let's hit up the 50s and go to a little.
Uh-oh.
Let's go to a campground. Let's go camping for a little bit.
Let's go camping.
Yeah, let's. We're gonna see our friends, the Yetis, which I hate that they're
No.
called Yeti in this because they should have just called it Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Because for me, Yeti is like, oh, snow, but then this is in the woods.
yeah, that was kind
That
of
was a little
weird.
weird. But yes, we're talking about Yeti campground kills. This is actually a really fun house. This
It was.
was House of the Year for
It was.
actual
It,
like
it did. It won
rankings.
that
It won
year.
House of the Year,
It-
which honestly very well
And
deserved.
Vamp 69, the one we just talked about, won Scare Zone of the Year.
Yep, very well deserved. Yeah, Yeti campground kills was a lot of fun. It was one of my favorite houses this year.
Yep. Yeah, it was really fun. It had a lot of really cool moments, and not to mention we had uh well, I'm more of a newer HHN person, but the HHN all the HHN fans from that's been going for years will know about HHN Bear.
Mm-hmm. We did get to see the return of our good old friend, the HHN Bear. I was so very happy to see that. But no, I love the setting of this. I love that they kind of went for that B movie style with it.
Yeah.
Like that the 1950s set B movie, especially the whole thing about that kid poking the Yeti corpse with a stick.
Oh yeah.
That I think was like one of my favorite scenes in there.
It was. A fun fact. I found this out from one of my friends who's a big HHN fan who went to HHN like all the time, but also she's also a big Emotional White fan like I am. When we went to Emotional White and at Hard Rock at the Hard Rock, while she was talking to us, and she informed me that because she did the VIP meet and greet and got to meet the band and talk to
oh
Chris.
yes, that's right.
Chris told her his favorite house, because he went to HHN multiple times this year, was Yeti.
Look at that. And we were the unlucky ones who were never there to experience that with him.
I know. You know how many times he was there, and how many people I would have loved to. How many people I saw online, and I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me? They're there, and I'm not." Because not only was Chris there multiple times, and I had just barely missed him. Even there was on a night I was there, and I was like, "What? How?" Uh, uh, not to mention, like one of my bucket list people I've always wanted to meet. My one of my favorite wrestlers, CM Punk, was also there
Oh yeah, that's
one night,
right, he was.
and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I was like, "I
Yeah,
don't
that was
understand." Yeah,
that was wild. I'm like, we missed it by that much.
yeah. It's not like Chris is like trying to say incognito. It's like I've seen the pictures of him. He just walked around in
Yep.
a long sleeve and a hat. And
Covering up
he
that
was
purple hair.
yeah, because he had to keep it a secret then. But yeah, he just walking around, standing in line. I don't even know if he even had express. He may have just been in regular queue line.
Oh my god. Can you imagine? You're just like talking. You're just like playing sure. You're playing heads up, and then behind you is just Chris motionless throwing out
Yeah,
suggestions.
that'd be so great. But yeah,
um,
Yeti was super fun.
Yeti was a lot of fun. Yeah. I will say in terms of scares, I think this was like the house that had like the most intense scares because
Oh
the
yeah, for
Yeti
sure.
actors did not mess around. They would get up close
No, they
and
did not.
personal with you. They're like they're like personal space. Never heard of it. Yeah, but the I think my absolute favorite scene in that house was the lake. When you're walking in like that little kind of dock area and there's a lake there,
Oh
and
yeah.
there was one point where I'm like looking at like I'm like, okay, I've seen this was like my second or third walkthrough. I'm like, okay, I've seen the lake. Let me take a look to the left because I haven't really seen like the little like shop that they had there, like the bait and tackle thing. So I'm looking and then I see like the yellow strobe light. And I'm like, oh god, that was a lot. And I turn and there's a yeti just like right in my face. He didn't even use the trigger. He was just there, and I had the scream that I let out.
Yeah,
I think it must have been the highest pitched scream I've ever let out in my entire life. But it was great. Again, yeah, I love like the whole like campground 1950s vibe of it. Um, Honestly, something that was like really terrifying too was, I think it was like that little scene right after the ranger station when you have to like walk through all the sheets that are hanging down.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool as well. But yeah, no, Yeti, extremely solid house, a lot of fun to walk through. This one gets an 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Okay, yeah, I'd probably give it 8 out of 10.
So we're gonna go further back now.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna go to the best restaurants in the world. We're gonna go to medieval times.
I still haven't eat there.
Honestly, neither have I. I'm just saying that for the joke. But
Yeah.
we should plan it all. We should all plan a day to hit up medieval times.
I mean, literally considering that I can walk to one that's right down the road from me. Yeah,
No, we should plan like a whole thing
we should.
for medieval times. But we are going to be talking about Dueling Dragons. Choose thy fate.
Yep.
So, Dueling
This one was.
Dragons was one of the most hyped houses I had this year.
Oh, same here.
I loved that ride. I was so sad when it went away. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
I liked
I,
Hagrid.
yeah. I never knew about the ride.
Oh man, Dueling Dragons was one of the coolest rides at IOA. And yeah, it was when that got announced, a part of me was like, I feel like I'm back to being 12 years old because that was the first time that like I was 12 and the first time I went through Dueling Dragons because it was really funny because it was my middle school field trip. Like every year they would do a field trip to a specific theme park. Like sixth grade was SeaWorld, seventh grade was IOA, and eighth grade was Busch Gardens. So
Okay.
we did. I had moved to Florida and started seventh grade, so I never got to do the SeaWorld one. So we did seventh grade. We did IOA, and I mean I had gone to Universal before for vacation and stuff, but there were certain things I hadn't done, and I was like, okay, I gotta impress my friends. I'm gonna do every single ride. I'm not gonna chicken out or anything. So that was the first time I did Hulk. That was the first time I did Dueling Dragons, like all the big rides,
Oh
and
man.
I was like, this was amazing. This is one of the best rides I've ever been on. But yeah, it was wild. Like hearing that announcement and just being like, man, I cannot believe that they're giving us a love letter to Islands of Adventure right now. And not only that, it's actually tied into the lore of what the ride was and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was great. I love the whole idea of like it's these two wizards fighting for Merlin's spellbook. Now,
Hmm.
the only thing I didn't understand, did they turn themselves into dragons or were they cursed?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's like the only thing that wasn't clear to me. So like, how did they become the dragons?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great house. Especially if you had walked through the queue for Dueling Dragons back in the day, this was essentially the queue multiplied by 10
Yeah.
because you had your actors, you had the really crazy imagery. You even had because I know you earlier you mentioned that the multiple endings thing for Legends Collide. So this year we did get multiple endings for Dueling Dragons, where you had a total of 4 separate endings you could get.
Yeah.
Because you could get Pyrock losing and Merlin winning back his spellbook, or Pyrock winning and holding Merlin's head, and then the opposite as well, because you could get Blizzrock winning or Blizzrock losing. Because
Yeah.
you also had that option. You could choose Thy Fate. You could
Yep.
go fire or you could go ice at one point.
Go fire us. This was the coolest thing ever because I remember that we was just when this got announced, we were just kind of like speculating. It was like, oh, it'd be cool if you got to choose. And then you think, okay, yeah, that sounds cool, but I don't think they do that in a house. And then you get to the house, and then you literally have a
You literally say choose Thy Fate. You're
or
like,
one or two things you can do, and it's like, oh my god, this is so fucking cool. I can do one or two things. There's so much like a replayability for this,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, yeah, it was really cool. It was a really beautiful house, especially that one part when about in the middle of the house when you get to the big castle and you get to see the two giant dragons.
Spewing like
Uh,
flame and ice at each other, which was great.
yeah, that was really cool. The thing that I really disliked though was I hated how some of the actors looked. It looked like honestly, it looked like they just were like different colors Statue of Liberty.
That is
It,
exactly what I was about to say.
I was kind of like confused. I was like,
Yeah.
it's cool and all, but why are they
Why
dressed
did
like
they
the
look like the
Statue
Statue
of
of
Liberty?
Liberty? Oh
But
man. I agree with you on that. I also will say that it was kind of light on scares. It was great for set design, but it was light on
yeah,
scares. Um
it had a really great set design, but very light on scares to the point that like I think I did this house maybe three, four times, maybe
yeah, I
max,
did it around the same number of times
and
for me
then I
too.
just kind of stopped going. I didn't really care to really go through it anymore.
Yeah, and honestly, this is just a me thing. Is I'm like Universal has done plenty of work in houses with like big animatronics. You know, like your Werewolf in London,
Yeah,
um, your Poltergeist stuff,
they
and I'm like,
definitely
I
should have.
kind of wanted a little bit, like I kind of wanted some movement in the dragons,
Yeah,
because honestly, all you really get movement wise is like a dragon claw pops out at one point, and I'm like, that's it.
yeah,
Like we should have gotten at least like a head of a dragon or something, kind of like spewing something at you. I'm like, outside of that though, set design wise, it was amazing. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, this one will get an 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Uh, I'm gonna go 8.5.
Okay, so give you that. All right, so we did the 60s, we did the 50s, we did medieval times. Time to get back on the DeLorean. We need to travel back to 1986
Oh yeah.
and make sure some things go a little bit stranger there. So, Stranger Things 4.
Yep.
So I
So
have thoughts on this house.
yeah, I
Yeah.
this was like my most anticipated house and the one I thought I was gonna love the most. And even though I'm pretty sure it's still in my top five or just slightly below it. I just it definitely like went down really quick, and I found myself not really caring if I did it as much as I
Hmm.
thought I would.
And I completely agree with you. Yeah, I mean it was cool like the first couple of times, but after a while you're like, I don't have to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Again, set design was really nice. Especially that facade where you walk
Oh,
right into Eddie's trailer.
yeah. There were
And
some really sick designs, especially when you walk into the upside down, but it's like within the house, so you get that cool ass staircase and all that.
oh yeah. Yeah, that was cool. And like the upside down version of Eddie's trailer as well, where you can like look at the
Yes.
ceiling and see the like the regular world,
Yes.
which I
Oh
thought
man.
like that
You
stuff
see
was really
you can
cool.
see Dustin and everything
Yeah.
upside down. That was so cool.
Like that was really
Yep.
cool. Obviously the Master of Puppets scene was really cool.
Yeah.
But for some reason I don't know why they didn't
But
give Eddie a guitar.
well, you know why? Because I don't know if you heard about it. So Metallica wouldn't let them use the guitar to play the song.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's weird.
because Metallica's dicks,
That's
or
so weird.
Lars Ulrich is a dick. But yeah, uh, yeah, supposedly that's what it was.
Oh, that's
So
disappointing.
that's why he only had like
A stick.
the stick thing. Yeah, but
Yeah, that was But yeah, like outside of
yeah,
that though,
a lot of
there
the house
wasn't
I
a
was like,
whole lot where I'm like,
oh man,
whoa, like
yeah,
for me it
it,
was just
it
like
was
that and
a lot of it was
seeing
exactly what I was expecting it would be.
exactly.
But
Because like for me, like the two big set pieces were just Vecna
And then there was
Slayer, and the Master Puppet
yeah,
scene, and that was it. Outside of that, it was like,
yeah.
it's okay.
The one of the really cool things that I always loved walking through is when you see Vecna on the wall with the whole everything
Oh,
all
like
spread
the
out.
tendrils and everything.
Oh god, that was so sick.
Yeah,
But
and like Robin, that's when like Robin comes up and throws the
yeah,
Molotov at him.
yeah, yeah. Robin does it. The one thing I was really disappointed in because I was so ready to just like run through and mindlessly sing Kate Bush was that part. The
You
volume was
could barely hear the
extremely
music at
low,
all. Yeah,
and it's like people are like, I understand like people's like reason for it. They're like, oh, well, you're supposed to only barely hear it because you're in there, but
but you should
that's
at least
such a
be able to
huge
hear it.
moment. That's such a huge moment, and people like fell in love with that song because of that. That they should
Hmm.
have cranked that volume up. But one of the other things I really disliked was the fact that like I love that like right after we cheer Eddie, that was our boy,
They
we get
kill
his
him.
fucking
They
death
immediately give us the death,
right afterwards,
and I'm just like
and it's just like,
That's rough. Why would you do
why
that?
would you do that to us, you dicks? Then, not to mention, I never saw it myself, but I always saw because I didn't think to look down. But apparently, if you look down at the Vecna actors, they were all wearing white Vans,
I never noticed that either,
which
but
is
that's
which
hilarious.
is funny as can be.
I just remember the joke that we had on our first walkthrough on opening night. We just kept saying Max,
Mox,
Max.
yeah, Mox,
That and then
yep,
like our whole
yeah,
theory of
yeah,
like
because
of how the
Vecna,
facade was gonna be the Vignessi.
yeah, the Vecna, but
And I was just gonna be like, we're entering Vecna's spread legs.
but yeah, but it's because like fucking Vecna would have his hands on his uh on his hips like that, but also he sort of looked like the Grinch in some
Yeah,
things, and he's like
Max.
Mox. Listen here, Mox.
Yeah, yeah. That house
God,
was
it
something
was
though. Yeah, it could have been
it's
better.
just like
And okay, here's the other thing too. There was no mention at all of any of the other side stories because it was all focused on like the Hawkins side of things. I'm like, I would have at least
yeah,
appreciated a little bit of like the Hopper stuff in Russia. At least like him
right,
fighting
yeah,
like him fighting the Demogorgon.
yeah,
Because obviously like the stuff with Mike and Will and Argyle and all that, there's like nothing there you can work with.
yeah,
But at least with like Hopper, you had a little something that you could use, and they didn't even touch it.
yep.
But it is what
It
it
was
is.
listen, like I said, I was like, it was one of those where I'm like, yep, this is gonna be it. This is gonna be my favorite house. I can't wait to go through it. And I was like,
And it was not.
oh, and then like I did team preview. I was like, oh yeah, that was fucking great. And then after you do it a couple of times, you're kind of like, okay, it's really not
It's good, but
as
not great.
as good as I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah. So yeah, this one, based on that, I gave it a 7 out of 10.
7, okay.
Because
I'm
it was
still
yeah,
gonna
it was good. It had some good scares, but after a while, you got tired of it.
okay. Damn. I still liked it more than Duel and Dragons, but so I'm gonna give it around the same thing. I'm gonna be at
An eight.
probably an eight and a half. I think I
Okay.
gave it 8.5 to Duel as well.
Gotcha. Nice, nice. I think this has been our biggest difference in score so far.
Yeah,
It's just a number.
I said it. Dragons was my first house on Team Member Preview, my first house on opening night, and so I went and did it one more time on the very last night on the 4th. I got off where 11, walked in there, stood in line for like 40 minutes, did the house. Was like, okay, that was cool. That's the end of HHN for me, and left.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. So we have made it out of the Stranger Things. We ran up that hill,
We
and
did.
and now it's time to get a little bit more grounded, I guess. So better get them purple hoodies ready because we're going to go into the Exorcist Belieber,
Ooh.
and we're going to be singing "Baby, Baby, Baby" all day long.
So
So all
this
jokes aside,
this
though, Exorcist Believer, honestly, this was at the bottom of my hype list.
for sure that this was definitely like one of my least hype ones because before this I'd finally watched the first Exorcist, a couple like weeks or months before, and it was cool, but I didn't understand. I was still kind of like, okay, I don't really understand why this is such a huge horror movie. But and so I was kind of like, we saw the trailer for this one, and I was like, okay, this one looks more like I'm gonna like this one a lot more. So I'm excited for it, but I'm also just not really too big into it. So it's kind of not as anticipated.
Hmm.
And also, I was kind of like, the movie doesn't come out till October 13th, or so I was like, or 6th because of the fucking Swifties.
Oh
So,
yeah, that we didn't
uh,
get the extra Swift.
yeah, so I was like, so then I was like, okay, so now I'm a little least hyped because I'm like, are they gonna fucking spoil the movie for us? Is like, this is kind of weird, but then you find out that no, it's just based off the trailer.
Yep, it's
So like,
pretty much
okay,
everything that you see in
cool.
the trailer is the house, and I'm like, okay, that was
It's like
good.
cool. I like
Um,
that, but with all that being said, like went through on team preview, I was like, okay, that was cool. Went through an open night rest of nights, and honestly, this one shot up, and this ended up becoming one of the houses that I couldn't that I had to do almost every night
and I
because
am with you on that. This is actually
yeah,
my favorite
it
IP
was
in the
so
series.
fun, and not to mention there were some nights where the team in this one was on top of their game, and they
Oh
would
yeah,
fuck you up.
oh yeah, yeah. Honestly,
They
the
would
cast
not
for
fuck you
Exorcist is
around.
probably my favorite cast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
like
so many cool scenes in this movie. In this, and I don't know if you've seen The Exorcist Believer yet,
I
but
have not yet.
I
Something keeps
I
coming up, and I
really like.
cannot watch it.
Yeah, I really liked it, and like after, and it made me like appreciate the house even more, and even after going back through the house after seeing the movie was even better.
Mm. Yeah, I need to. I really need to watch that movie already. I just literally every day I'm like, okay, it's my day off. I'm gonna go watch it. But then like I have to do a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, crap, I didn't get a chance to watch it. But but no, yeah, this house was amazing. I loved the entire design of it. Like, not gonna lie, the reason it wasn't that high up on my hype list, like, I'm not the biggest fan of The Exorcist. I think it's
Yeah,
okay.
same.
Like obviously I understand that at the time when it came out, it was like really shocking and like wild for because like people were used to stuff like Rosemary's Baby or like Psycho. It wasn't like you didn't this was like the age of where you first got the creepy kid thing of like kids saying like obscene things and
Yeah,
like that weird stuff. So like that's where I could like that's why I understand why at the time it made such a huge impact. Watching it now though, you're like it's okay. I've seen this before in a way. But yeah, that's why and I honestly wasn't that hyped because I'm like how do you translate something like The Exorcist into a house and make it good? They figured it out with this.
oh, they did.
Yeah, they really did such a good job of telling you the story without spoiling, from what I've heard, without spoiling the movie. Um, yeah, and it's in terms of smells, it was really immersive.
Yes, and they use smells to their advantage. Like there's the one room that you just smells like straight up shit. You're just like, oh my god,
Love
get
that
me
for
out of
me.
this.
Yeah,
My my
from what I've heard,
my
multiple people threw
only
up.
my only complaint about this is that they reused the Myers house from Halloween from last
That was
year.
also on my notes
Yeah.
here of like why I was gonna. It was
So
not does not get a higher score that I would like to give it, but you can obviously tell that this is the Myers house.
so at some point you're like walking through there and you're looking, you're like,
You're like, where's Michael?
where's Michael? I know those staircases. I saw those staircases last year.
Yeah, that's the only thing that like drew me back. But outside of that, no, scares were really solid. The theming was solid. Um, those the two rooms where you're like where they're like performing the exorcism and they have the girls tied back to back. Probably my
Oh
favorite rooms
god,
in that entire
that
house. That were so
that
creepy
room
there.
is so sick. Yep.
Especially when like there was like the one that was just like one of them was a dummy, the other one was a person, and they were just like
Yeah.
swaying in the seat, and I'm like, please do not move, just stay in that seat. Please do not
Yep.
move. Yeah, that was really good. They did such a good job with that, and also I was not expecting the amount of actual like demons that we got.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, we're just gonna get a bunch of the girls and like maybe like the occasional person, like acting scared, but we got a good chunk of actual demon.
Yeah. You know
And
they should have done. They should have fucked with people and just had Dan Housen in
oh
his
my
in his
god,
makeup throughout most of it. Cause
just
he's
have him
super,
show up.
yeah, because his makeup's based off Pazuzu,
Yeah,
so he just randomly shows up. It's like, oh, you're cursed.
you're cursed. That would be great. Oh my god,
But yeah, the
Dan
this one,
Danhausen believer.
this one was so. I enjoyed this so much that I literally bought the shirt. I have the Exorcist Believer shirt, and it's also a sick shirt.
Nice.
Uh, but yeah, this one, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I would give it an 8.
Okay.
Honestly, it's because of the reuse of sets. Like that for me kind of threw me off. And that kind of
Yeah.
broke the immersion for me a little bit. But outside of that,
Okay.
and also the opening segment, part of the sets of
Oh
that
yeah,
were from Chupacabra.
that's what I was thinking. Cause I was looking,
Yeah.
I was like, were you back in the Chupacabra
Yeah,
market
so
thing?
yeah, that was the only thing I had with that house. There was a lot of reused
Yeah.
sets, so that's what threw it off for me. So yeah, that's why it gets. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it an 8.5 because it's still a really solid house.
Okay.
And
That also I loved how the cast was like really into it to the point that they all went and saw the movie together
oh, that's
and
yes, I
and,
know.
and treated it like it was their movie premiere.
Yep. Yeah, my
I,
friend,
I loved
one of my
it.
friends
Love when
was one of
people
the
do
demons
that.
in it, and she scared me and did like a little move, and I was like,
Yeah.
that was a little weird. And like about 25 minutes later, I get a DM on Twitter. So they're like, hey, that was me. How you doing? And I was like, I knew I recognized. It's like I knew you. That's why you did that move. But no, that was a great house. Like the cast did such an amazing job, and yeah, you could tell that they were giving it their all. But you know what? We've gone through a lot. We've we've survived a crazy circus. We've survived demonic girls. We've survived the '80s. Hell, we survived Chucky Ultimate Kill Count. You know what? You know what? I think it's time we like took a little vacation. I found this like little village that seems really peaceful. They have like this like kind of this like festival thing. I'm like that'd be cool to experience.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm down.
It sounds like a fun thing, right?
I'm down.
So Blood Moon Dark Offerings.
This
I
house.
love this house so much. This was my
I
favorite
did.
house this year.
This was another house where I was like, this sounds really cool, and I'm excited for it, but I don't think it'll be like it might make my top five, but I'm not sure. Second favorite house of the year.
So
Fucking
again,
love this
the
shit.
same thing when like the description for this, the synopsis came out for this, I was like, okay, I've seen they've done this plenty of times. They've done
Yeah.
Roanoke stuff and like villagers killing people stuff before. So I'm like, it's not gonna be that great. Lo and behold, I was proven wrong.
Nope.
This
They
is
fucking
literally the Wicker
killed.
Man meets Midsummer.
Yep. It's like what we were saying. This is as close to a midsummer house as we're ever gonna get.
Oh, absolutely. This is not just yeah, because you have like obviously you have the folk horror stuff that's like very prevalent in something like The Wicker Man, with like the cultists and their religious thing going on. Um, that was great too. I love the like costume design for it because they were all very very creepy.
Yeah.
But then you also had some really interesting set design and some really interesting visuals that gave me Midsummer vibes.
Yeah.
Like the fucking town square with the lamppost and the
Mhm.
tendrils coming out of it and the kids playing with that.
Oh yes.
That is one of the coolest
What
things that they have ever done.
the set design on this was so cool to the point that I wish I would have done the unmasking tour so I could have seen this
Oh,
more
I
in
wanted to do
person.
that so bad. Like for me,
But
like this like in terms of set design, this was up there for me with
yeah,
Dead Man's Pier
for sure, yeah. And
because
one of the
it's
things that I loved and appreciated about this was the fact that it was really with how like much horror and gore and some of that is in it. This isn't like a supernatural house. It is a true cult house. It's really
yep.
just
It is
cult
just
people
people.
killing, yeah, people, which is what was really cool about it. But like this house became such fun and so enjoyable that when you'd go through, you would start chanting stuff that the villagers would would be chanting, and you would be with
Exactly.
them. Like I can't tell you how many times I got the bell guy to ring the bell, or I would chant the opening stuff all the time.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. Oh man.
And then, not to mention, one of my favorite scenes, and one thing I always loved walking through, especially with people who've never been in it, when you walk in the church part
Oh my
and you're not
god.
sure who's really there and who's a dummy.
Especially because they switched them. Last time I went, they had switched them out.
Yes, they switch them out all the time. And I don't know if you heard about it, but I heard that there was a night like near the end where they just decided to fuck with people, and they made the triggers random and different triggers. So like the triggers weren't the correct triggers.
Oh my lord.
So it was all just randomized.
That's great. I love that. No, but yeah, this house was incredible. Again, in terms of the set design, something that I really appreciated too was the way that they built the town itself.
Oh yeah.
Very similar again to Dead Man's Pier, where you could see certain things that you can kind of see them off in the distance, and then you would eventually walk through them. You because you technically see the man in the bell tower twice. You see him kind of farther away at one point, but then you go through a couple of rooms, and then you see him a little closer this time. You're like, oh wait, it feels like a natural progression, like you're naturally walking through this town.
Oh, for sure.
Like it didn't feel like I'm just going from one room to another. I'm like it feels natural. Like even in the town square scene, like if you look past the power like the lamppost, you can see people that are a little bit further ahead of you. So you're like, okay, so I'm eventually gonna get to that, to where they are. And and again, the prop design was great too. Like the final scene was amazing when you see this huge, disgusting, gross, but also beautiful looking tree made out of body parts.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Not to mention that also the last Stinger scare, where it's also kind of the same thing with the church, where you have some cultists there, and they're like, some of them are dummies, some of them are real. But yeah, set design, costume design, actors. It was such a great blend of everything coming together. Like this and yeah, this is why like this and Darkest Deal were so much fun to walk through.
Yeah, this one was, like I said, my second favorite house of the year. Right behind Darkest Still. It was like this one and Darkest Still was one I did pretty much every night. It also helped that like you know, not necessarily a bad thing, but like a lot of people, even though this is such a good house, they kind of slept on it. So
So the
the
lines were
most
always low.
the wait time, the most wait time was like 35 minutes, if that.
Yep. Yeah, that was probably my favorite part of that. The fact that I could just walk in pretty much whenever I wanted and not have to worry about a long line. But yeah, that's all the scare zones and all the houses.
Yep.
We survived Horror Nights. Oh, actually, wait, I didn't give my score on this. This one gets a 9.5 out of 10.
That's what I was gonna give it, 9.5.
Beautiful house.
Oh yeah. I guess maybe we can talk now about
I guess some of
some
the
of
food options, right?
the food that we enjoyed.
So,
Actually, I had a go to that I always got, or I tried to get all the time. My my favorite food item, well, not the food, but drink item, was the non-alcoholic
oh, the
Surfer
Surfer
Boy
Boy pineapple
Dream
juice.
Punch.
Yeah,
That thing slapped.
yeah, that was delicious, especially on those hot days because it was so refreshing too.
Yeah.
Like I did the same thing. I got the non-alcoholic one because I was like, I don't really want to get alcohol with that. I've heard it's really good non-alcoholic, so I'll drink it that way, and it was great. I loved it. Yeah, it was because like I said, I didn't try a whole lot of the foods this year. I tried the cordyceps corn dog. I had that one twice. First one I had was really really good, but I feel like as like the nights went on, the hot dogs themselves got consistently smaller
Yeah,
to the point where it was like a cocktail weenie at one point.
yeah.
And I was like,
I,
"That's where's the dog?
I
It's all corn, no dog."
yeah. I like the cordyceps thing. I had it twice, I think. But but like I said, it just was like one of the things that I got twice. Uh, besides my actual food thing that I always loved to get, that I really wasn't as hyped about until I had it. It was, and some people, it's probably not that great, but I don't know, just it was just something about it. It was a consistently decent meal for me. Was the ravioli from
Same, yeah,
Last of Us?
yeah. That
Yeah,
was gonna be that was my other like top food
yeah.
choices as well. Yeah, it was the
Constantly
ravioli was
get,
consistently good.
I would just constantly just get the ravioli. It was like, if I was hungry, I wanted something that I knew I would enjoy
Mm-hmm.
and could count on ravioli.
Yeah, there is
Uh,
one thing I'm gonna say about that ravioli. Why
okay.
in the hell do they put the garlic bread on the bottom? It just gets all soggy by the time you get to it.
Yeah, I know that was kind of weird, wasn't it?
That was my only drawback to that ravioli. Everything else was great. They should have just put the ravioli, then the garlic bread, then the little mushroom sticks.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the ravioli, fucking top notch. My other thing I really enjoyed, I got it a couple times, but it was one of the things that like I was excited about it. So the first time I got it, I got one and I ate all of it by myself, and then that was a huge mistake. Was the Chucky
Oh, the peanut
popcorn?
butter. Oh, the
Uh,
popcorn.
the popcorn, because it was good, but it was also like spicy to the point that like it caused like really bad heartburn
Oh.
if you ate like all of it by yourself and didn't just kind of space it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of stopped getting that one for a little bit, but I tried one time. I got the peanut butter
Oh yeah, that's right.
uh,
I was there with you on opening night for that. Yeah.
a burger thing, whatever it had on it, and it was good. But I only got it one time. It wasn't enough for me to like want to get it every time. Uh, let's see what we had. We had that, that. Uh, I think after that, I think I started going. I think for like desserts. Uh, I liked I liked the fried Oreos. The fried Oreos were great. I only got them like maybe once or twice.
Hmm.
The
Yeah, for
the
me,
thing
I didn't have the fried Oreos because I'm like I've had them before from other places and I can get them cheaper,
okay,
or I
yeah,
can make them myself if I needed to because I can make them myself.
there you go. The dessert I loved the most, but it was also like super small, so it didn't last long. Was Yuri's favorite that you
Oh
would
yeah,
get.
yeah.
That thing was really good. I don't even know really what it was. It was like peanut butter mousse with Reese's pieces and stuff like that. It was so good though.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's I the only other thing I tried because like I said, I didn't really try a whole lot of the foods. The only other thing I tried was the poutine, and
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I had the poutine once,
I wasn't a
and
fan of it.
I wasn't a fan either. So I was like, I don't really care for
Yeah,
this anymore.
but outside of that,
Yeah,
that was about like the all the food options that I tried because I know like the food was kind of expensive, so I was like, I'll just eat something
yeah,
before I go over there, and I'll be fine.
yeah. The was it most
Oh
nights
wait,
of horror?
whoa! I completely forgot the walking tacos though. That was actually my go-to
Was it okay?
because
So
the
I
walking taco
never
was
had it.
like a good serving, and I could chomp on that thing for a while.
Okay, see, I never had the walking taco. Mm, almost every night of horror nights, if you could find me at least once with a dream punch. Dream punch was my thing.
Yeah, for me it was just
I will miss.
walking around with a blinky cup and occasionally getting a ghoul juice.
Yeah. Well, luckily for me, on my the first time I had the dream punch, I actually talked to. I guess this also helps that I was a team member. I actually talked them into letting me because I bought a blinky. I told them I'd pay for the blinky cup, and so they made me a deal with them if I was on the paid for the Blinky Cup, they would give it to me. They put my non-alcoholic Dream Punch in a
That's
Blinky
awesome.
Cup, so I was
That's
like,
sick.
"Yay! I get to walk around like the cool kids.
I'm a Blinky Cup kid.
I'm a Blinky Cup kid, but without the alcohol."
No, but no, it's good that you got to do that. Then that you got your own Blinky Cup and everything. So yeah, I'm all for it, man. But no, this was a solid year.
It was a
It was a
lot
lot
of
of
stuff.
fun.
One of the things we didn't talk about that was also like a win for this year. As far as atmosphere wise, the music was really good.
It was, yes. The
It
music
was
this year
really
was a lot of
good.
fun too.
But there was like this like goth horror-ish
With like a little bit
EDM,
of with also kind of a trap beat going on to some of it
yeah,
too.
like trap EDM like vibe going. It was
It
so
was
cool.
it was
So I'm
it's
excited
called
for it.
Goth Trap.
Yeah, it's like if you were at like a like it was like I don't know how to say it. It was like imagine if you were at like a goth club, but it was also the opening scene of Blade.
Pretty much. That's exactly the best way to describe it.
Yeah,
Yep. That's I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. It's definitely like an 80s goth club meets the opening scene from Blade. Yep, absolutely.
it was so
I
cool.
100% see that now.
But yeah, it was like everything about it was really good. Like 'cause I remember like stuff like last year was good, but like the music choice was kind of oh that was kind of weird.
I really enjoyed the music last year because I love the psychobilly genre as in general,
Gotcha.
but the loop was way too short. Like I was constantly hearing "It's a Psychobilly Freak Out" by Reverend Horton Heat, and I'm like, that's enough of that, please. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Reverend Horton Heat, but that's too much Reverend Horton Heat. Like, I'm like, where's the Necromantics? Where's the Bad Brains at? Like, throw me some of that in there too. But no, overall, yeah, the music was a lot better this year in terms of like keeping me invested and like not getting me tired of the same loop over and over again. It was like it was long enough. The music was different enough where you weren't consistently listening to the same thing. Um, yeah, scare zones were solid this year. Houses were great. It was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot with friends this year. Because last year I did we did our meetup and we all went around and everything. But I also did like 2 nights by myself, which was it was kind of chill, but at the same time it was like I'm missing people. This is what they say: don't go alone. So you're just gonna give
Yeah,
yourself not because you're gonna get scared, it's because you're gonna give yourself crippling depression.
basically. Yeah.
But no, overall it was a great year. I think I'm gonna give like the entire year itself. I'm gonna give it a solid 8.5 out of 10.
8.5. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh.
just
Hmm.
because the only thing that like kind of killed it for me was the Shipyard Scare Zone, Last of Us, and Chucky. Like those three were like, kind of what brought it down for me. But outside of that, really fun year.
Okay. I think 8.5 is a good number. Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, that scare zone, two houses, and one thing that really hurt for me was, and I know they can't. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think that they do it on purpose just to get people to buy express passes. Is the crowd
Mm,
because there was even there was a night where I know there was a night that was so bad crowded and overwhelming that it frustrated me to the point that I was like, you know what? It's like I fell in love with this and moved here because of this, but this isn't fun anymore.
mm.
It's like I don't like walking around here and having to wait, hours upon hours in line for a 2-minute house or hours in line for fucking food.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just kind of, man, this is
Yeah.
just, I'm just feeling it. But
Mm.
but luckily, I think I was just having a bad night. So uh, I took like a week. I think I took like I didn't go throughout the week, and I went like maybe one time the next weekend, and I was like, okay, it's a little bit better. I'm having
Yeah.
fun again.
Yeah, and honestly, I know we say this every year, and I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it, or some people do, but the teens.
Yes.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all of them because there were some that are like really good about it. Like, they are
Yeah.
really well behaved. Like, I had one that was like super nice. Like, we actually like bumped into each other, and he like before I even had to say anything, he apologized and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was on me," and like just kept walking. I was like, "Okay, great, thank you for that." But there are some that are just like so annoying.
Oh yeah.
Especially because like you had some that were just like running around bumping into people and like not saying anything or
Yep.
knocking people down. Some that were
This-
disrespecting the scare
Some were
actors.
yeah, some were filming TikTok videos like in the middle of crowded places doing stupid shit. Me and Angela literally like witnessed. We were behind one that was jumping out and trying to scare the scare actors,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, oh my god, I
Oh
fucking
yeah,
hate
no,
this
right
so
off the
much.
bat, there was like when one of the nights I was walking through Vamp, there was these kids behind me, and they were just like talking shit and just like wanting to like, oh, we're gonna go, let's go sneak up on him and scare him. I'm like, oh, I ain't having that. And I went right next to me was an ops guy. I was like, hey, by the way, they're looking to mess with the actors. This dude essentially said the equivalent of "hold my beer" and just walked right up to him and started chewing him out. And I was like, these are the
Yeah.
things that make me happy. Like, because
Uh,
I've been going to Halloween Horror Nights since I was 13 years old. I was never that disrespectful, and I was never acting that up like that bad. Like, did I occasionally I would run? Yes, because I was fucking terrified of the chainsaws and I was 13. But it was never to the point where I would just like bump into people or like run over people and stuff like that. It was literally just to like escape the scare zone and that was it. But like I was never into like messing with the actors or anything like that either.
exactly.
It's just like a lack of respect, and I'm like, I'm sure because you didn't pay for this. I'm sure your parents paid good money to send you here because they didn't want to deal with you, but that doesn't
Yeah.
give you the right to act like a dick. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, it's still fun. Yeah, but yeah, I completely agree with you. There were some nights that were just like soul crushing.
Yeah.
The
You're just
crowds were
kind of like,
just so bad.
yeah. There was some bad. Yeah. Let's say it's like crowds, the teens, which I mean, like I said, not all are bad,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Because there were some that were great. Some of them were just like,
some just are just
were
that
they
bad.
loud and not? Were they loud? Yes. I mean, they were getting scared. Of course, you're going to be loud. Some people, that's just how some people are. But they
Yeah.
weren't. Yeah, they weren't just fucking around and messing with people when they were not supposed to be doing it.
Even not just teams. It was just even just some even
Even
like I've
people
seen.
in
I
general,
was
there were some people just like our age, and I was just like, "What are you doing?"
yeah. I remember I was like one of the last nights I was on Halloween night we were in line for Blood Moon, and there was just some person in line that just kept screaming randomly to try and scare their friends like like as loud as they could, and it was like annoying as hell.
Yeah,
And it's like, God damn, people. It's like, and unfortunately, it's like it comes with the territory because it's like it's getting like more and more
it's oh
popular,
yeah, especially because they bring in
and
all
we're
these huge
getting
IPs, you know.
more huge, and especially more like mainstream IPs. So,
Mm-hmm.
like this year we had Last of Us and
And Stranger
uh
Things.
Stranger Things, which is huge. If rumors, if what we want to happen happens, the next year we'll get Five Nights at Freddy's,
Which is going to be even bigger.
which is gonna be even bigger.
Which, by the way, that movie was great. I love that movie.
That movie is amazing. I can't wait to maybe we can talk about it.
Oh
Maybe we do
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Uh,
We still have like three things
uh,
that we need to talk about. At least three.
yeah.
Because I definitely want to talk. I still haven't seen it, but I definitely want to talk about Exorcist at some point. We definitely got to do a Saw
Yeah.
10 coverage,
Oh, absolutely.
and then I definitely want to talk about Five Nights.
Yeah. But I will say though one thing, and this is like more of like on me and everyone else who kind of had it in our head that this would happen. We did. I'm disappointed we didn't get a Five Nights at Freddy's announcement like for HHN because there was so many clues throughout the
Oh
parks
yeah,
that
there were
that would
like that
happen.
it would. Yeah, there was like a lot of clues kind of stating it that it would be announced. Kind of like the same thing they did with Chucky, where like
Yeah.
they announced it last year, like right after the event ended.
So I don't know what's happened. I don't know if that means like if that's like a maybe we're not gonna get it or they just
Or maybe
really
something happened and
said
they're
they
like
are.
reworking the rights.
Yeah, or maybe they're just legitimately wanting to save it for a big reveal.
Mm-hmm. That could be it too. Because the cool thing about that one is they can reuse one of the sets from Slaughter Cinema. because it was like one of the little like scenes in Slaughter Cinema was called Shitty's Kids, and it was just like an arcade. I was
Oh,
like, they could
nice.
just reuse that. It was literally kids killing the adults at an arcade, and it was like a Chuck E. Cheese type thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think that's really like all we got in terms of coverage for this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, fun year. Crowds were a little crazier than usual, but I still had a lot of fun. I still really enjoyed my time there, and I'm still hyped up for next year again.
Well, same here. And I've already seen wish lists and even some people, some like rumors, and I'm I'm excited for what I'm seeing.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen some people throw out suggestions and stuff out there, and I'm like, these are all cool. I like this. There's
Yeah.
a lot of good ideas in there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all we got. We're gonna end this episode right here. Our final, our return episode, our return extravaganza. Um, but no, and I hope that V can join us for that next episode. She just needs to see at least one of those three movies that we just talked about. Because I guess
Yes.
I don't know if she's seen Five Nights, but she hasn't seen Exorcist or Saw yet. But yeah, hopefully we get the chance to she gets the chance to watch at least one of them, and we can all three of us can sit down again and record for that. But in the meantime, we're still here. We're doing stuff again. I'm trying to keep up. My job is like driving me a little bit crazy sometimes. So like I was trying to keep up with like the horror news things that I was doing, but it's just almost impossible right now for me to like sit down and like look through all the news and like pick what I want to talk about. So, but I'm trying my best.
Yeah, especially because now that the strikes are over, we're getting so much news left and
Everything
right.
is happening at once. Yeah, so I may start it up again on Monday where I can kind of like dig through a couple of things and see what's going on and post a couple of like those news items here and there on our Twitter and our Instagram. But yeah, right now that's really all I got. But yeah, before we go, we're just gonna do a little basic housekeeping here. So Kyle, where can we find you in terms of social media?
Yeah, so if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Kyle S. Prescott, where I post about horror, wrestling, emotional somewhat, uh, goth stuff, anything in between. Uh, and then other than that, you can also find me on Instagram, same at. Uh, I really need to get back to posting actual posts on Instagram. I mostly just use the story feature,
Mm-hmm.
but you can find me on there as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I know. I do see your stories occasionally. I know you haven't posted in a while, but that's okay. It is what it is. Like what I'm trying to do now on Instagram is like post at the beginning of a month of like what happened the previous month. So like I did my one for September, I did my one for October where we had those pictures of us at the Motionless concert, which was
Yep.
sublime. Even though I was like deathly sick. And like I'm pretty sure I was running a fever by the end of the concert. But oh
Yep.
well. It was worth it. We got to see After the Burial, Alpha Wolf, Knock Loose, and Motionless, so top tier content.
God, that's probably one of my favorite shows in a long time.
It was great. Um,
I think I like weirdly, even though the last one had two of my favorite bands, I feel like I liked this one. It was more enjoyable than Trinity of Terror.
well, for me, it was, yeah, I think it was also because Trinity of Terror had like shorter sets as well.
Shorter sets plus we
And
were
it's
like,
also the friggin' insanity that was the fairgrounds and everybody, and them having to continue stopping the show over and over again.
yeah,
But yeah, we definitely had a good time with this one. It was a lot of fun. Like the crowd was super into it. But yeah, no, Motionless was great. Great show. Honestly, everybody did a great show. Um, but for my stuff, my socials, you can find the podcast itself. We're on Sounds from the Grave, on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And then for my stuff, you can find me on Twitter at itbeyusef and on Instagram at Yusef1220. Twitter wise, if you already follow me on Twitter, you know the kind of ridiculous shit that I post. I'm always up to no good. But yeah, outside of that, and then for V, you can follow her on I believe is it still HHN Cultist? Let me see. Yes, she is still using HHN Cultist as her Twitter. So you can follow her on there. She posts a lot of the same stuff we do, or a lot of makeup content, goth content. And now because she is also a Christmas aficionado, she's gonna be posting a lot of Christmas stuff. Uh, but yeah, man, that's really all we got for you guys. Uh, Thank you so much for sticking around, for listening to this extremely long episode. I don't even know how long this has been recording. But whatever, it was fun. We got to talk about Horror Nights one last time, so whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, well, thank you guys again so much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, your night, and that you stay spooky.
Stay spooky.